everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, place about games, friends, getting better. My name is Ben Hansen. Apologies for the delay with this episode going up, but we had GDC to come back from, and we're going to be talking all about that in the back half of the episode. But before that, we have Jeff Marchiafava here.
That's me.
We have Leo Vader here.
Now it's time for some gall-dang content.
Games. And we have Charles Hart returning once again.
Yeah, and you get some gosh darn Charles.
Thank you for being here, Charles Hart. Charles Hart, you might recognize him from the famous retweeting of some sort of Blue Sky post from Game Informer teasing something happening March 25th. That couldn't be right.
I don't know. I was so excited about March 25th. I thought it'd be cool if people looked in on that day, but I don't really know anything else.
Yeah, it's his cousin's birthday. He always kind of freaks out about it. We're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows on this here podcast. It's been in the works for a heck of a long time. Let's unpack it. Talking Atomfall. I'm very curious about this one. Talking Fragpunk. Talking Rainbow Six Siege. All of Leo's favorites. And then we have Haley McLean and Sarah Pozorski joining the show, and we are going to be unpacking our thoughts on GDC, some games that we played at GDC, and then, of course, answering wonderful questions submitted by the community over there on Patreon in the back half of the show. I'm excited for this episode. There's a lot to get to. How you feeling, Leo?
Great. Every game I was like, I have a lot to say about this. I'm not just going to show up. I've got takes.
Right. Oh, Jesus. All right. Assassin's Creed Shadows. I am curious where everybody's at. And Charles, jump on in, because I feel like the first time you're on the podcast is when we're covering Assassin's Creed Mirage, right?
That's true. Yeah. I'll do a leap of faith in, and just I'm like 7 hours in.
Okay.
So I've only played as Yasuke in the beginning, but I haven't gotten him back yet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's where a lot of people are at, I think, because it turns out the game that's built on, hey, you're in feudal Japan and you're kind of alternating between these two characters, choose which one you want to bring on a mission. It's like, oh no, for the first big chunk of the game, you're now Wei, which is fine, but it's interesting how it's just completely the opposite of everything they kind of build this game as for years.
Yeah.
I do wonder, though, if people would default towards the more combat-focused Yasuke if they weren't forced to learn the stealth part.
Which is interesting.
That's part of the goal.
That in an Assassin's Creed game, it's like, we need to make sure that they came and bought an Assassin's Creed game for the stealth assassinating. It seems relevant. Let's see, I am early on in Assassin's Creed Shadows myself, but Leo, how much time have you put into this thing?
6 hours, so right around the same place.
Okay, and then Jeffem is the powerhouse here so far.
25 hours. And it was probably 20 hours when I finally unlocked Yasuke. Now I can switch between them whoever I wanted to. I don't expect it to be 20 hours because I was doing other stuff during that, but
cooking dinners.
It's a hike.
Yeah, awesome. Jeffem, as the expert here, what's your high level take for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Just to build it up. This may be the game that all of Ubisoft is hinging on at this point. And It's a game that people have screamed about. I mean, I remember doing cover stories for Game Informer for Assassin's Creed back with Revelations. And even for that, all the comments were like, okay, Assassin's Creed, let me know when you get to ancient Japan. Go to Japan, you idiots. And now in 2025, they're here. There's a lot riding on it. And Jeffem's take is?
It's really good. I think it might be the best playing Assassin's Creed game, but it's still a Ubisoft game.
The classic. The classic.
For better and for worse. Speaking to that point of people have been waiting for this forever, I do feel like it is unfortunate that they waited so long and that Ghost of Tsushima came out, because Ghost of Tsushima is one classy game and really, really both into the history of Japan and also, influenced by Kurosawa films and kind of all that classic stuff. And this feels more like it was influenced by the Japanese parts of Kill Bill and they do pull in history and those kind of things, but it's a Ubisoft game, and there's just kind of not the same level of deference and classiness. I'm gonna say.
That's interesting.
There are contemporary Japanese rock songs in cutscenes and stuff.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, which
Yes.
I honestly is one of, I think, the coolest things about it. It's taking a weird angle that makes me stop and consider it. Because, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima definitely ate this game's launch in a big way.
That is interesting. Even like, I wonder if it's factoring in, tying in. When I started up this game, it was a moment of like, oh yeah, the anime stuff, the modern day stuff. And it's just like a light tease at the beginning of the game. It was enough to make me go like, oh yeah, in the years of this game's development, I hadn't even considered what the quote modern day context was for everything and why and how you're going to be jumping between these two characters. But it seems like light tease at the beginning to say, we'll get back to you later. And now please go enjoy Japan. But Charles, you played through every Assassin's Creed game before Mirage came out. You put way too much time.
Most of them. Oh. I didn't truck through. I didn't get to Valhalla at all, and I didn't beat Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
Like the big chunky ones I didn't do, but I did all the older ones. So the first thing I did is I went in the settings and I turned on like instant assassination. You can just set it so if you're in stealth mode, you can assassinate anyone instead of it mattering what level they are. Oh. Because I was like, that's just what I'm used to. I've always preferred that. I like the fact that I'm so sneaky I can kill anyone by sneaking up on them. That just feels more realistic to me. But also it doesn't really break the game, because if you jump in an area where like everyone's 20 levels higher than you and you assassinate the big guy, everyone else will still kill you really quick. So it just changes the flavor of it a little bit. So I did that, and it has improved my stance on it.
Just because it makes you feel like it's an old Assassin's Creed game?
Yeah, or just that I don't know. If you stab people, they die. Yeah. Sometimes RPGs get confused about that. I was like, well, your sword wasn't sharp enough. It's like, nah, I stabbed you, so you should die. That's how this should work here.
Valid.
I have been most... I like all the visuals and stuff. I generally like the gameplay. My main like holdup so far is there's a lot of dialogue, and a lot of the like out of big cutscene conversations are like very stiff to me. I don't know if other people have thought this, but there's like long pauses between sentences, and people have very like robotic like reaction A, reaction B to certain things that people say. And whenever I was just in a mission that was a lot of talking, and you're like getting ready for a tea ceremony, and I was like, I'm not really interested in this, and it was kind of putting me off. But it's a really long game, so I'm not expecting that one mission to reflect the whole thing, but the pace of it is very slow.
Interesting. Yeah, I immediately put it in Japanese, so maybe that kind of stiffness is less apparent to me. I heard there are other complaints about kind of the English VO, but it feels like it's just so much cooler. I think it's a sophisticated choice if you play in Japanese, and especially in the beginning where like, you got Portuguese and Japanese all swirling together. It's a cool mix to get out of the gate with. Mm-hmm. Leo?
What
do you think of Assassin's Creed Shadows, man?
I'm pretty mid on it at the moment. I do agree it is one of the better playing Assassin's Creeds, but that is just below the bar of where we've come with other games to me. Just that the portion of time you're playing this and trying to do something and something different happens and you're frustrated and you die or you don't die, but it just doesn't feel like your fault, whatever happened. That's just plain a bigger part of this than most games I play. You just feel that emotion more.
So, I mean, remember in the preview, you're talking about just like the parkour is still not good. It's just you're sticking to the wrong things. You're trying to go over here and your body's doing this, even though you're fully in control. It just never quite is locking you into having full control like you'd expect if you're inside of an Animus.
Exactly.
The way Jeffem was like, it's one of the better playing Assassin's Creed games, but it's still a Ubisoft game, was kind of like, this is the best meal I've ever had at an Applebee's. It's like the thing of like, oh, it's really great, but also like, this is where we are. So like, understand what I'm comparing it to.
But I think if you say the U word at this point, like, it's a Ubisoft game, that is just, I mean, how many years have we been doing this now? It's just that idea of like, okay, open world, bloat of icons, we got it. But they're trying to, I feel like they've been trying for 5 years now of trying to shake that up. And it seems like they're doing more of that this time around than ever, of having you go around and explore the environment yourself, right? Just showing like points of interest, kind of state of decay style.
Yeah. So that is on my list of big things that I don't like about this one. The whole, like, we want you to discover your objectives is a great goal for many different types of games. But their sole way of doing that is go to this objective, but we're not going to tell you where the objective is. And so like, we'll give you a couple directions, like it's in this prefecture and then it's, west of Kyoto and it's kind of by a pond, and figure out where that is. And they have a scouting mechanic where you can send out scouts to kind of narrow that down. But even when you get to a place, like I streamed for like an hour and a half yesterday.
Yeah.
And the longest like chunk that I spent was looking for a dog at the freaking cemetery where you're just supposed to pet a dog. That was the goal. But you get there and it's just like a big blue circle and it's like, look around for where the dog is. And it's like,
it says it's by a grave and there's a grave right there and it's not there.
Yes, there was a cat there, which was very confusing, and I kept coming back to that cat.
Bad intel.
Like, this does not count. This is the wrong animal. But it's like every single objective is a go and try and figure out where this thing is, and it feels like there's no point to it other than we're just kind of artificially lengthening what these missions are. Like, it is the wrong type of discoverability.
Well, I mean, the point is they want you to pay attention to the world and not a map. I mean, it's not a matter of padding out playtime.
I don't know if it works, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have fun doing that, even though ostensibly I should for what I like in games. It's not like I'm following clues by being observant. It's like I'm running around until I get lucky is how it feels every time. Otherwise, you can use scouts to scout it out, but early in the game you have so few that it's a very precious resource, and that feels kind of hampered at the start.
What about that the Pathfinder mode? Did y'all experiment with that, where it's basically like a little dead space, like boop, like marker on the ground to tell you exactly where to go? Is that only during missions, unless like
it brings you to the sphere to search in?
Oh,
it doesn't bring you right to it.
Okay,
to the location. Yeah, it writes out a little path for you, which is fine. I guess helpful. The other. I do like a lot of the game. I have been enjoying it a lot. I am used to that kind of like middling parkour where sometimes you grab onto the wrong place. I have like it is the best, smoothest version of that, even though it is still imperfect. But like one of the other big stumbling blocks that I have that we can get out of the way is just like the skill tree system and it being based on knowledge points is just kind of a big bummer. Like, you are leveling up normally as you play. You actually get a ton of skill points. Like, the first hour I played, I was like, man, they are really not giving me a lot of skill points. It seemed like it was going to be stingy. And then once you start doing main missions, like, they just shower you with points. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that in order to get to the higher tiers of skills that you can purchase with those skill points, you have to do like these knowledge side missions, which universally are just not interesting at all, and just like the busiest, like fetch quest kind of busy work that there is. Like, a lot of them are, you go to a shrine, you like discover a shrine, and then you either need to like pray in 3 locations, which is just going up and pressing the pray button to pray there 3 times, or it's you go there and you have to find 3 lost pages, which you just kind of use your little inspection button and you look for a white dot, and then you go there and you press a button and you get it. And you have to do them because each level you need 10 of these knowledge points in order to just unlock the next tier of skills. And it's just like, I don't know why they did it. And they're just not, if they were actually interesting, or if they had more, actual history of Japan or whatever layered into it or something, maybe it would be more interesting. But they are just a bummer that slows down your progress for unlocking skills.
There's a lot of them too. I think that's like, if it was do 2 of those to level up, that's fine. But like, I think getting from level 1 to level 2 even is like 8. Yeah.
And then I think it's 10 after that for the next couple at least.
And my goals so often in these games, like, I love to have self-driven goals in games, and that's not necessary, but a goal I care about. In this game, I feel like you have a million goals, including a bunch of things on the skill tree you want to get to, and they all feel so far away, and the hurdles between you and them I just don't look forward to doing. I feel like so much of this game is galloping through open space to get to a place where you follow for 5 minutes or eavesdrop, which is what the series has always been, and no one has wanted it to be, and yet here it is still. Clearing outposts and stuff, that is fun, and that has not been that big a part of it so far.
So like the other thing about the knowledge points, I could deal with the fact that they're busy work, but sometimes like I had a long stretch where I just didn't have any knowledge points on my map that I could go to in the first place. Like you have to go out of your way to go to question marks, and then you kind of have to just hope that they are a shrine or something that will have one of these opportunities in there. And I don't know if they gate it kind of in the early hours in terms of like how many you're going to have. Because once I got Yasuke, like a bunch more showed up because he has his own ones to do. But yeah, that sucks. And Leo, you are speaking to me with my other main criticism of the game, which is that world is super big, as they always are. Sometimes that's cool. Like when you climb up onto a, eagle's nest or whatever, and it zooms way out and you are like this tiny speck in the middle of a forest and there are hundreds of trees. It's gorgeous and it's really selling the idea of how big this world is. But you just spend so much stinking time running from one objective to another one that's 1,000 meters away, just through like dead space. Like they really want you to take the roads when you're going to your next objective, because if you decide like, well, I'm going to cut through this forest instead, like you are not going to see anything in that forest that you can interact with at all. It's just like dead forest, no enemies, no, like here's a treasure chest that you can get, or here's, like some other little thing that you can interact with. Like it is mostly just completely dead. You are just running for, 2 minutes to get to the next objective. And it's been a real bummer, and it's in a real contrast to, like some other open worldish type games like Avowed and Eternal Strands that have come out recently that have like really focused down their game worlds, where it's like you walk in any direction for 20 seconds and you find something interesting in Avowed that you can interact with, or, a chest that you can find to loot or whatever. And it makes you feel like you are actually have fun things to do. And in this game, like I would love to see a heat map of just like the entire world of this world versus like where content actually is to interact with.
Don't you think? I mean, they're kind of screwed though. Because you can't have like an amusement park version of Japan. Like a lot of people, if they want feudal Japan, they want to ride their horse through rolling green hills without having people pop out and be like, over here, side quest over here. I think there's a treasure jingle over here, like Fortnite or some crap.
But I would also like to do stuff. And like when I want to go on a mission and I want to have fun on a mission and be an assassin, I don't want to have to ride a horse for 5 minutes to get there with nothing going on in between.
What do you want to have happen if you're riding a horse to your next objective? Like they need to...
Like Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of goes for the same thing of the tone of being there and the long rides between places. And even when nothing happens, there is the sense that anything could happen. And you need that. The dynamic events that game brought, I think really are forever underrated for how much it brought that to life and made it fun to be galloping from objective to objective. Yeah. And this having nothing like that besides like little fights between two other factions where there's like not any reward for beating them besides XP. It's like there are things going on and you don't know whether you should do them because they're not very rewarding or interesting.
Yeah.
I like the stealth in this game a lot for a series that people have been like, oh, it's going away from stealth. It's getting more focused on other things. I do like coming into this, playing as Naue, and specifically feeling like I can do things I can't do in other games because of the shadows. It's in the name, but the shadows are so cool. Like if you go somewhere at night, there's a whole thing where like when you press the stealth button and you're in like tall grass, you have like the little white outline of like, oh, you're basically invisible right now. If you go somewhere at night, all over when there is a shadow and you're stealthed, you're like not visible to people. So there's like a whole new dynamic to like, I'm going to go in this room and extinguish this candle and then no one will be able to see me kill these people.
Right.
And then also the fact that they've got like the paper doors and you can see people's shadows through them. Like you can kill people through those walls, but also it's just like, you don't always need to rely on like eagle vision or like tagging people from a point, because it's like, well, I can see the people in there just because of the literal design of these buildings.
Ancient Japanese doors, it's like everybody had detective vision all the time. It was pretty cool.
Exactly. And also just ways of like, I mean, the fact that the doors are like in other games, you would open like a creaky door, like they need to have a sound effect for the door, but it'd be like, oh, this feels weird to open the door and assume no one's going to hear it. These are like much quieter, so that like helps my immersion. You can also go under buildings a lot, so it's not just you got to be on top and then find a place to drop down. It's you can be on the ground level and sneak around underneath.
The going prone thing adds a lot of different routes and Yeah.
So as someone who's played a lot of Assassin's Creed stealth sequences, I think a stealth game is only as good as the tools you're given to navigate that stealth. And like just having a crouch button or just knowing that like I can avoid people's gaze like isn't enough for it to be fun. And I feel like I have a lot of tools that I can use here that has made me like it a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I like the feeling of going up to a candle and like extinguishing the light and kind of sneaking around in the darkness. But then there are times where I'm like, wait, I can't interact with this light? Is this one of those lights that I can throw my kunai at? It's like there's multiple different light sources, right? Like manually extinguish, throw a kunai to extinguish, or can't do anything with it. It's like, which light are you that I'm looking at the moment? It's a little funky.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the first Assassin's Creed game where like stealth is a really viable option, and it's a very good stealth game just in terms of normal games. No Ubisoft caveats on that one. Like I think the stealth feels really good. I think like the positive side to this being like a giant massive game like all Ubisoft games, I think the loot system works really well, and the weapon systems. Once you start getting legendary weapons and you upgrade your home base a little bit, you can start putting engravings on it that like give additional abilities and stuff, and you can like really start building out your character. I have built out my character to make kunais as deadly as possible. Perfect. And I'm just whipping those at bad guys all the time, and it feels even better, you know, like, so I really enjoy the stealth. I really enjoy the basic combat too. I was very skeptical going in about whether Yasuke was going to be fun to play with. And it has been a lot more exciting than those demos that we watched originally made it seem like it was going to be. I think it stands up as an action game as well. And so like,
he's got like that.
I'm enjoying all of the combat. It is just kind of getting to those things. Also, like, the castles in this game are so insane. They're basically like bandit camps in every other Ubisoft game, except it's basically an entire town. And like, there are times when there are just dozens of people that you're like sneaking, you're assassinating constantly. You know, you're trying to find the daisho, and it's like, they are so much fun to like, I will go in and I will spend a half an hour just clearing out a castle, and that is just super satisfying. You get super good loot at the end of it. Each daisho that you kill also gives you a mastery point for your skill trees. Like, there is really good stuff in here. It's just kind of like a scatter shot across this huge world, and you know, all the systems that like Ubisoft loves packing into these. That
and on the combat
to get to it.
For sure. And on the combat and stealth, the animations are stellar, and there's a ton of them, and they flow together really well. Like, just the look of you pulling something off is really strong, for sure. Especially like prone assassinations where you're crawling in, you pull them down, you get up to stab them, and then you get back to prone. That feels really great.
Yeah, I love that the power dash you get in the beginning with Yasuke, just like that charge forward and stuff. Even just him sprinting through doors is always funny. Feels like it's never quite fast enough of a sprint, but it's like, oh no, okay, he's still just busting through apparently every single door around. It's satisfying in a strange way.
Yeah.
It's like if in a Spider-Man game, they're like, what if you could just also play as the Hulk sometimes? You can just run in and he can smash stuff and you don't have to be sneaky about it. And it's like, that is actually satisfying.
Yeah.
Totally. On the light thing too, there's like dynamic weather, which is cool. I was taking on a big base and having trouble with it, and then it started like thunderstorming, which made so much more cover for me to move around. And I was like, I need to do as much as possible before this storm is over, because it's going to be easier. And little moments like that felt dynamic and cool. And there's like seasons in this game that are somehow not story bound. They're dynamic, which is really interesting.
Oh, and it's already kind of shifted seasons, even just 7 hours in like that?
A couple times, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty regular, yeah.
It's probably been like 10 years in my game at this point. How often the seasons change.
It functions as like restoring your base resources, your scouts and stuff. They go out and do the things you assign them to do. They bring back the resources you got, and then they reset for the new season.
Okay.
And
you get a cute little
enemies
cutscene.
come back too and stuff like that.
Okay, it's the Blood Moon in Zelda. Just a big reset for the entire world. I got it. What's up with the on the simplest level, like the launcher for this game? I'm playing on Xbox. And it's like, it boots up, I don't know what it's like on PC, Leo, but it boots up just like a launcher with every kind of RPG version of Assassin's Creed.
Right.
Of like, oh, do you want to boot up Valhalla? You want to boot up Odyssey? It's like, is this what's left of that Assassin's Creed Infinity push that they had, which seems like it was going to be a big hub thing, and then this game was going to be the first in that series, and now is it just this little launcher where they try to push you to check out the other games and buy them?
I guess. I don't even know if you can boot those up from there if you have them installed.
Well, yeah, it booted up there, and I was really confused, and I was like, "Is this like a?" Because sometimes there's like little databases in the games,
right.
You'll be playing, like Black Flag, and it's like, Altair was a famous assassin once. If you want to click this and learn about him, so I thought it was going to be that, and I clicked like, the Origins Bayek page is like, "Do you want to play Assassin's Creed Origins right now?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, what? No. I started Assassin's Creed Shadows. Why would I want to do that? Why are you giving me that option? You think someone's gonna buy? I guess maybe if you get like Ubisoft Plus or whatever, and then you start Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're like, but the Vikings look cool though. What if I just pivoted and did that intro
I'll come
instead?
back 100 hours later, I guess. And play this one. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably simple as just, I don't know, Call of Duty does it. It's the biggest game in the world.
Yeah. But do people like it?
No, I don't think so.
Call of Duty does that? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's a non-move.
Jor Hello in the Backstage Pass chat says you can launch them straight from there if you got them installed.
Oh, interesting. So, I mean, is it for people that loved Odyssey and Valhalla? Both those games sold very well. Clearly, there's an audience out there that wants that type of game. Like, if you are somebody who loved Valhalla in particular, jumping into this, is it going to be like, great, more of that in a different setting with some new twists at the end? Or you think still it might be just, 5 years later, people are going to be like, I don't know about Assassin's Creed anymore.
I can't remember how much like boat stuff there was in Valhalla. Like this feels, despite all our complaints, this feels more concentrated in terms of just like you are roaming around one countryside to these different towns and stuff. That feels a little more focused to me, at least compared to Odyssey, which is the one that I played much more of.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like Assassin's Creed or have liked Assassin's Creed at any point, I think check this one out. It plays the best. The story is fine for me. Like I'm not as big of a fan of any of the characters either, but like it is a simple setup of like, here are these 10 or 12 or whatever super powerful people that you have to hunt down and assassinate as a tale of revenge. And that works for me because I'm a simple person.
No
but it's
doubt
like,
about that.
and then you discover many other circles of people that need assassinating, and there's plenty of assassinating to go around. And like that aspect of it is fine. If you are Assassin's Creed fan, like that is what it is serving up, with the best gameplay of Assassin's Creed that they've managed so far. So, like. And if you're a big fan of Assassin's Creed, you're probably used to the bloat and used to taking a long time to get to your next objective and all those kind of complaints that we had.
And if you're not, maybe just boot up one of the last few that you didn't beat and play it for a few hours and your itch will be scratched.
That's true.
Could be.
Yeah. I mean, Charles, do you think you're going to see your way through this entire game? Do you feel like the need to be up to date on Assassin's Creed?
I mean, we'll see how long it holds me. There's some of these games that it gets to the point where like you just keep unlocking new stuff, and I'm kind of like, I just want to finish the story for the sake of. I'm very much like, let me finish the story real quick, and then if I want to hang around and do the whole world, I'll do that. Sometimes it's like, well, you can do this next thing, but you're gonna have to do a bunch of side stuff or whatever. So I'll see how the pace goes. It seems like a very slow-paced game. Like, it seems like it wants you to take your time and go through everything. And I don't know if I'm the person to match that pace, but I know there are some people that are like, this is the only game I want to play for the next 2-3 months, and that's fine. And it's kind of built for that kind of like long-term investment. Yeah,
I think it is great for those kind of fans. And it's, I question, like, is that the main Assassin's Creed player nowadays? Maybe it is, but like, you know, they've been struggling to find a bigger audience, I guess Ubisoft has in like, they need a big hit at this point. I mean, and
Valhalla
I don't know if
knocked it out of the park, but yeah,
I don't know if like, you know, maybe that is the person now, and they are ready and willing to invest 100 hours into fully exploring this game, which, you know, I don't fault anyone for. And if I was going to play an Assassin's Creed game that much, this would be the one. Like, I am still very much enjoying it after 25 hours. I want to continue playing it. It's just like, I think you are best suited going into this if you just kind of wander around and you aren't committed to like, hey, let's do the main missions. Like, you are going to run into some kind of growing pains in terms of leveling your character, and you're just going to be spending a lot of time running from one point. It's better like go to an area, just kind of do the little things that are around it, and kind of, you know, wander around the countryside that way. I think you'll have more fun.
I mean, I feel like the best chance it has is it's launching at a pretty good time. I feel like there's some, you know, Xbox promoted games at least launching in like later April and stuff, but we got a little bit of a gap here, I think. Like, you know, maybe people are kind of finishing up with Monster Hunter, unless you're a real sicko like a Kosaloon or Jacob Geller. But I feel like, you know, they nailed the window. I'm just curious to see if people will show up in a big way to kind of give it that sales boost. But Leo, you're probably done?
I feel pretty done.
Yeah.
It's I've played games like it a lot, and for the marginal ways it improves, it's hard to still get excited about. It feels like work playing it and doing the objectives. Feels like obligation. I
know the part where you're like, well, obviously, you know, taking out an encampment is still fun. Like I'm at a point where even early on, it's like, take out this castle encampment. I'm like, I don't even want to do this. Like I feel like I got zero enthusiasm for the style of game, unless maybe Yote can really grab me. You never know. Assassin's Creed Shadows, everybody. Let us know what you think in the comments. Charles, what do we matter? It's the people out there.
That's right.
True. We're just a couple of guys.
Just a couple of guys with silly voices.
This next game I'm very curious about. I have not started this one. This is a game called Atomfall. Wild situation where this is, of course, from Rebellion over there in England. UK at least, I forget the exact location. But the developers of Sniper Elite. And if you remember, they just released that kind of standalone, smaller, the Sniper Elite equivalent of Miles Morales came out earlier this year. And remember we were talking about, like, how is it possible? Because they also have this big new ambitious IP called Atomfall releasing. And now Atomfall is out and about. It is, the easy shorthand is people are like, oh, it's kind of a Fallout style thing. It's 1960s post-apocalyptic world, but maybe more survival focused than Fallout. I like all these ingredients. And Leo, how is the recipe?
I'm liking it so far.
Okay.
It's very different from Sniper Elite. I feel like the answer to the question we're asking of how are they doing this is they didn't put a ton of effort into that spinoff, and they put a ton of effort into this because it's a very new thing with a lot of interesting ideas. And you know I love those. Very buggy, kind of dated visually, maybe. Not that that's a big deal. But like the ideas are really strong, and they present themselves immediately of like, really, it's going to be like this.
What is that?
It's very survival focused. So when you're in the menus, it doesn't pause. It is constantly, you're expecting it to give you things it doesn't give you. Like when you start doing combat, you're like, okay, how do I block? Oh, there's no block. Okay, then how do I dodge? Oh, there's no dodge. And that's maybe because you are meant to get hurt and meant to spend resources on getting your health back. There's ammo scarcity, and it's all about managing these things and crafting and getting new crafting recipes. And you'll get a bunch of old guns that you don't need. And you'll go, okay, how do I break these down for materials? Maybe I have to wait for a workbench, and there are none. And you get to a trader, and you go, oh, I can barter with this trader. What do I get? What's the currency? Oh, there is none. And there's a literal barter system where the junk you use has one purpose if you don't want it. It is to bring up your side of the barter. And everything has kind of a behind the scenes value. So like something you want has a high value and you toy with, maybe I give them this really valuable thing that'll bring it to be an equitable deal that they'll want to do. Like committing that hard to having no currency, committing to having no blocking or dodging. Those are, this game is full of ideas like that it believes in.
It almost is taken more from like a Stalker or something than from like a Fallout. That's cool.
Yeah, Stalker vibes for sure.
I brought I want to say it was called like a combat stim. I like picked it up. I hadn't used it, and there was a trader, and they were a baker, and I was like, yeah, I need my weapons, but you can have the combat stim. How much bread is this worth? 1 bread, 2 bread, 3. Every bread and pastry you own, and you could still give me more if you had more. And I took it because I was like, I don't know what this combat sim would do, but it's like, good to know. I guess this is a valuable thing in the world. It's worth 20 bread.
It's also dependent on the merchant that you're doing it with. Like each one has preferences for what they really want or what they just don't value at all. Yeah, I was going to echo what Leo said, which is that like, it's pretty unpolished. It's kind of uneven. It's a little janky. Doesn't look the best, but it is wholly unique. And it has really been grabbing me as well. I'm about 15 hours in now. And like one of the things that I really, really like to contrast to Shadows is like this game also puts a high price on discoverability. And like they want you to figure out your objectives. But unlike Shadows, where it's just like, hey, kind of go to this place and then wander around and look for what you're doing, like all of your objectives, you're kind of figuring out organically from talking to people. Sometimes you can there, like each dialogue option has like an attribute like prying, or you're desperate, or, you know, like you're being blunt or whatever. Like you can get more information out of people. All of the, you know, notes and like journal entries and things that you're finding around the world are kind of giving you leads. Like you never have an objective, so to speak, but you have all these different leads that you're going through and trying to figure out. In terms of like basic premise of the game that we should mention is like, it's not actually post-apocalyptic, but it's like there was this weird like science facility in this area in England, and something bad happened there, and like it infected kind of the entire area, and so the British government just built a big wall around it, and everybody who's inside is just stuck in there. And like you wake up in there and you have no idea who you are, but like a scientist, a scientist is there with you when you wake up, and he's like, hey, you have to get to the interchange, you have to get out of here, and you have to let everybody know what the truth is. And like that is your one overarching goal throughout the entire game. But you don't know where the interchange is, you don't know what the truth is that you're supposed to be getting out, and you're just piecing all of those things together with every interaction that you have with people. Everybody usually has like something that they want to find out or something that they need to done, and you're just kind of like going around and piecing all of these things together. And Rebellion did a really good job of weaving together the different zones that you go to, weaving together the information and like the key items that you're getting in all these different places, and like building it out so that you feel like you are figuring this out as you go in a way that like most games just do not get.
I love that.
I was thinking of what Janet said about Avowed having weak sightlines, because this I feel like is more what she wanted, where it is really you are spotting something and going and checking it out. Or again, like Shadows, it tells you go talk to the baker, and you go find the district with shops, and you pick out the one that says baker on the front, and you go inside. Like there's a bit more, it feels a bit more in my hands, I guess. But I also want to say, Unpolished is accurate in terms of bugs. They are pretty present. You will see enemies glitch up ladders, and it will take you out of it pretty often so far. But it is also really streamlined. I think for a survival game, especially one that doesn't pause when you're in menus, like it's supposed to be a bit more hardcore, a bit more every little thing matters. It is really player friendly. Tools like the metal detector is just you walk in an area, you hear the ping, and you press a button to take it out. There's no pouring through the inventory for things like that, unless it's like part of the gameplay that it's hard to get to, that it takes time to go back and take the combat stim when you're mid-combat. It's very, I think, thoughtfully designed that way.
Also, in terms of of being really thoughtful and friendly. Like, this game has some of the best like difficulty levels. Like, you can go in and you can customize when you choose how you want to play at the beginning. It's basically just giving you like different profiles that balance the combat, like survival aspects and the exploration. And like, but if you go into the advanced options, which you can do at any time while you're playing, they break all of those down into like so many different difficulty levels that you can like. All of the combat you can customize, like how fast enemies will see you, how fast they'll stop searching for you, like
whether sprinting takes stamina or raises your heart rate. Like, I know some people don't like that at all, and you can just flip that up. Rebellion has always been great at that. They should definitely get their flowers.
What are you guys? What settings did you guys pick? So I haven't talked at all. I just want to say I'm 2 hours in. I don't really like it. I was curious how far you're in and what. Did you just go with the I just clicked the recommended at the start.
Which is the second highest. There's 5 difficulties, and it says the second highest is the canon way to play it. I pretty much just have that going too.
Okay.
It is very challenging like that. I ended up going in and changing a bunch of stuff. I dropped the combat down to assisted which is the lowest and the easiest, because I was like, I'm dying a lot. There are some like zombie type enemies, and they are just tanks, and they are made to not really like. You shouldn't really be fighting them at least in like the beginning hours, because as soon as one of them hears you, all of them in an area will come at you and they do tons of damage. So when I switched to assisted, like they still, when they hit you, they still take off like 3/4 of your health. It's just that like enemies are easier to drop with your own weapons and things. And so like I have like now I can go into an outlaw camp, and if all the outlaws start coming at me, I've also upgraded all my weapons. So like I can actually play it more like a first-person shooter than strictly a survival game.
But it seems like one of those games that you want to be kind of scared of. You know, it feels like playing Last of Us on easy. Like you want to be tense, I think, as you're going through this world, right?
I want it to be fun, though.
Interesting.
I want to have fun, and it is still tense. There is a stronger type of zombie enemy where it was like I had to shoot one of them in the face point blank with a shotgun 3 times in order to drop them. Yeah. And so I also went in and I adjusted like how much loot there is in the world, because it's like I really don't like survival games where I have to use half my ammunition to take down one enemy, and then I feel like I've just wasted all my ammunition and I have to scrounge it back up. So like things are more plentiful in the way that I'm playing. And I love that they give you those options, and hasn't really detracted from the things that I like, which is, you know, like figuring out the story stuff. An additional thing about like the story part, like, and the discoverability of it is that like you are trying to get out, but you meet multiple people who are like, hey, if you help me with this, like, I think I can get us out. Like I have like 3 different basic, you know, like avenues of escape that I am investigating and that I am like putting resources into. And I'm assuming like most of them just aren't going to work, and like things are going to fall apart at some point with them. But like I genuinely don't know which way I should be doing it, and I'm just kind of discovering it as I'm going along. And that is super cool.
Yeah. So lovable clunker. This is the large bucket, except for Charles.
That's a good way to put it.
So I have been finding it frustrating, and maybe I just need to turn the difficulty down. Just playing in the normal difficulty setting, there's a thing where when you're playing a game and you encounter an obstacle, and you're like, okay, I can feel that the game is telling me don't do this right now because it's too hard. Where I was just walking in a direction, and then it's like, hey, there's 5 enemies here. I found 1 shotgun. I have 2 bullets. I have no other weapons. 5 guys, they kill me in 1 to 2 hits. I shouldn't be going over there. But then it's like, well, the objective's in that direction, so I'm not really sure what to do. I can try sneaking past them, but this is not a very good stealth game unless you unlock better stealth stuff later, where people see you really fast. There's not like
and really far away.
You have to avoid them. Yeah, really far away.
Well, I mean, I had to go in the tutorials and find out the tool you have to avoid them is walking away. If you make distance without a weapon, the bar goes down and they don't attack you.
So yes, but then so in this instance when I was playing, I was like, I need to go that way though, so I don't know how to. I ended up taking a really long way around, and I figured it out. I died a bunch, but that level of combat difficulty was frustrating to me, and it didn't really ease me into it at all. I understand. I like being scared of enemies. Like I should be scared of enemies. I just there's a part where you go into like the interchange. It's like a big vault-esque structure, and as you're leaving, a bunch of guys come in and there's only one exit. And so I spent like half an hour dying and trying to be like, I'll try to sprint past. It's like I wasn't sprinting fast enough and they shot me twice, so I died. I'm gonna loop around the side, and like I eventually figured all these things out. I think I'm gonna go back in and turn the difficulty down because it just wasn't very, that part wasn't very fun for me. There's also like the first main town. I do appreciate that when you get close to a hostile person or a potentially hostile person, they're like, hey, I might fight you if you don't back off and put your weapons away. In the town, that's literally every guard. If you get within like a few feet of them, they're like, I like that about the game. They're so on edge, they'll shoot you if you stand near them for too long. But you also like can't talk to many people outside. You have to like go inside buildings to find quests and things.
Yeah, a lot of loading screens.
It felt kind of lonely and empty despite there being people around. I would be like, oh, this is a person and I can see them doing something on the dock. What's their deal? It's like, oh, they don't have a name, and they're like, why are you looking at me? And when you load into the world and you're like an amnesiac, you don't know what's going on. The first instinct for me as a player is like, I want to talk to people and learn as much about this strange world as I can. And there's just like a few instances like that where it's like my instincts with playing games are telling me to do this, and if not that, then this, and if not that, then this, and having to kind of circumvent my way around and eventually maybe find something that works. But maybe I just think the combat's too hard.
Encounters are resources versus the amount of people there are so far. That's how it feels. Sure. It's like a resource check, and that's maybe just an excuse for clunky combat, or combat where you don't have that many options. But for me, it is like the encounters have felt exciting. And one example is in a building I was just looting. One small difference this game has is that the gangs are like roving around. You're not just going to an outpost where a gang is hiding out. Gangs have their kind of patrol routes. Cool. And I was in a building exploring one, and I heard whistling from outside. And I heard footsteps, and it was like, okay, there's a group surrounding the building right now, and there's no detective vision or anything. I have to be like cautiously peeking out of the windows, and I peek out of one, and I see them, and they see me, and the bar starts to fill. And it's like, in this situation, I can't run away and let the bar go down because they're like totally surrounding the building, and one of them is coming inside and having to make those decisions and not really stealth around, but like sneak until you can start it in a way that's advantageous to you, of getting a good heavy hit in with the cricket bat. Yeah, that stuff has felt thrilling, because I am getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, it's fun to see a studio like Rebellion get to take a swing like this. You know, they're probably so pent up. They've made so many Sniper Elite games. How many times can we shoot Hitler? We got the idea, and then to like push so hard, even if it's uneven at times. It's cool to see a team take a stab at new IP like this, I guess, has a lot of energy in there.
BBC's Fallout.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or BBC's Stalker. It is very much Stalker light, but I'm interested in the mystery so far.
Jeff, I mean, you like Shadows more than this, just to make everything a gross comparison?
Well, the past couple of nights I've been playing Atomfall. Like I stopped playing Shadows because like this one has really like I'm really interested. I want to find out what the secrets are. Like and another comparison, not that we need to complain about Shadows anymore, but this is another one in that Avowed vein of like much smaller zone. Mm-hmm. If you walk around the perimeter, like you are finding something interesting or something different every, 10 seconds as you're going around. And like that, the first zone that I started, like the game started a little colder for me, and I was less interested because that first zone didn't seem really interesting. It wasn't until I got to the village that I was like, oh, this is really interesting. But I have since gone back to that one and spent more time just kind of exploring and going around. And there has been so much interesting, weird, unique stuff that I found in there that like it is really charming me at this point.
Yeah, right on.
And I want to keep playing it. But part of that again is that like I was able to customize the combat to my difficulty liking and the survivability aspects and all of those kind of things. And so I've got it in a position where it's easier for me, and that kind of doesn't get in the way as much anymore.
Right on.
I also presents what's interesting about it very quickly, which I respect it for sure. Even Avowed, which I love. My friend put 6 hours in and then was like, I officially don't like this, but we're outside the Steam refund window or whatever. This is like, you know what it is and you know whether you like it pretty quickly.
Right. Atomfall, ATOM, out on everything except for Switch, even like last gen and stuff for Atomfall here. Okay, real quick, Leo. There's a game called Fragpunk.
I talk about this game for long or not at all?
Sarah's sending me hateful messages because she's ready in the wings to clap in. This is the only reason I say maybe fly through. So free to play, first person game, card based, which again, what is that other game you love that's also like this?
Friends versus Friends.
Friends versus Friends.
I got mad at this game on a reveal because it felt like a ripoff, but it's a very different implementation of the card stuff.
Okay.
Friends versus Friends is like you have a hand and you're playing it throughout the round, so you can counterplay live and you can build synergies and hold on to cards. This game, it pulls cards from all your decks in the standard mode, which is Valorant type shooter. You are voting. Essentially your team has a finite resource that you can earn in various ways that you use to vote to get cards that change the match for everyone. And you can see not what the other people pick right away, but what they have access to. And you can kind of go, they're probably going to go for this one, and we can counterpick that. One example is there's a card that turns the map into covered in ice, and you can slide around super far. And you're like, oh my God, we have the they can't slide, but we can card. We have to play that because they're definitely going to play that. And then like guessing right feels great.
Yeah.
Doing those good counters. And they're mostly smaller ones. Mostly big head mode is also in this, like Friends versus Friends. Marginal increases to health and healing and stuff. And there's also big ones like melee only this round, which they then counterpicked by picking double jump, which let them dodge us better and get cheeky hits in.
That's cool.
Those kind of interactions are fun, but I'm just not a Valorant Counter-Strike shooter lover. And I wish this was that stuff, the stuff that's cool about it was attached to a different game. There are different game modes. There's team deathmatch and stuff, but it's still like super quick time to kill, super weapons that are super similar to each other, abilities that are detect in a small range or throw a smoke grenade, stuff that doesn't really get me excited. But look, we don't need to talk about this game much at all, but there's one thing I do want to talk about, which is the tiebreaker. It's 1st to 4. If you tie at 3, a duel starts, and it presents each team with 5 slots, and each person picks theirs. I want to go first. I want to go last, or whatever.
Oh.
And it's a series of 1v1s on a small map.
Excellent.
So there's all this back and forth of like, oh, this person's kicking our asses, but now the 3rd round in, it's still the first person on the other team, but they've spent all their resources, and so we finally take them back. Health is persistent between rounds, so you can kind of chip away at people, and then like you get a series of wins in the 1v1s, and it's like we talk about Trek to Shrek, how good highlighting players is, putting the spotlight on individual people to have their moment. Mm-hmm. Like we got a lot of duels, and they were the best part. I wanted a duel only mode for sure. Those were really exciting.
Like a really fun idea for sure. It seems like it's doing well on Steam. It's free to play, but it's got like a ton of reviews. Do you think it's going to stick around, Fragpunk?
Maybe. It's NetEase, so it's surprisingly high production value on the menu animations and everything, and there's a million currencies, and you're either watching the video and you're seeing gameplay, or you can close your eyes and imagine exactly what it looks like. And maybe that will help it be successful.
There you go. Valorant with cards. Also, Leo, on the competitive scene, Rainbow Six Siege X. So Rainbow Six Siege, one of your favorite games of all time, it hit the 10-year mark. And so Ubisoft is kind of, what's the word? Rebuilding it, revamping it, revitalizing it. This is Siege 2.0. But it's a 10.0. Revitalizing.
I daydreamed about it being Siege 2.0. That's not what it is.
Okay.
It's reworked audio system, which is so important in that game for sure. That's like a big deal to have audio be more reliable, especially between floors has been a problem for 10 years. And they're finally addressing that in a way. I only played for a few hours, but it seems better, but it's hard to really say.
So like proximity audio, just making it more realistic for what you can hear in your house while you're playing Rainbow Six.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And it's coming with this new mode that is, of course, called Dual Front. That is one big map that only works for that mode that will change each season. that is a bit more Battlefield rush, pushing through each objective to get to the next one. So you're doing a mini siege of objective, planting and defending the plant, and then you move on to the next objective, but it's 6 players instead of 5, and you're kind of dividing up, like, let's have 2 people defend and 4 push this objective really hard. Oh, this is a good time for us all to work together on this thing. Oh, we should have one person head out and do the side objective that gives us a little bonus because I don't think they're focusing on it. It's a unique take on Siege that way, especially when you're trying to do comms between like multiple different fights happening across the whole map. It makes callouts really different. But in general, I don't think that mode is going to be like super game changer. My friends are going to only play that. It's more like when we have one too many people to play 5v5 Siege, we'll have something to do.
I mean, do you think, is this really revamping your interest in the game? Do you feel like you're renewed? Is the community psyched about all these little things?
My interest is renewed because in advance of this, I got my friends together and like, I want to refresh myself on Siege, and we've had such a great time.
Oh yeah.
Going back into it. It still feels so good and so unique if looking pretty dated, and this not making it look any less dated at all these years later. And yeah, again, I wanted it to be kind of a ground up rebuild. Let's make it look nice and run great. And it is not any different in that respect, at least as far as I can tell.
Okay,
there's other small changes like destructible stuff on maps, like shoot a fire extinguisher and smoke comes out, shoot a fuel line and fire comes out and then it explodes. Things like that in a systems-focused game like Siege are going to have a lot of implications, a lot of different ways they can go.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. And they're different enough that they have to rework every map. And they are reworking them visually too to look nicer. The maps will look nicer. And so they're like starting Siege X, going back down to 5 maps, and then they're adding 3 reworked ones each season. So that's kind of exciting too, like starting back from basics. This game that's gotten so huge and so many things in it, and it's all about learning the maps, and there's so many for a new player to learn. We still haven't learned the newest one they added, which was like years ago at this point. So going back to maps we understand or are learning at the same pace as other players, like that's a really exciting reason for us to get back into it at this juncture.
Yeah, totally. Well, hey, Rainbow Six Siege X, everybody, still relevant as ever. Charles Hart, as relevant as can be. How you feeling at this point in your life, man?
Just my whole life?
Yeah.
Good life. Chilling. Got a new camera, got LEDs. So, you know.
Fun retweets.
Yeah, cool.
You know.
Right on.
Excited for next week.
What a great note to end on. Thank you for joining us again for a little tease of Charles Hart. And Jeff, thank you. Do you two want to clap out? But Charles, you're welcome to scream about anything you want to before you clap out.
I don't know what you're talking about next, but I hope I can say, gosh, that's cool.
Yeah. Haley McLean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi.
Finally, we have Sarah Pazorski here. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Remember when you said my claps weren't good enough at GDC?
Well, here's the thing. They were clap for the sake of mic syncing when we're doing the travelogue. And it's, give me one strong clap. And Sarah's like, and then Haley comes in.
That's what it sounds like.
Then Haley comes in with like a Hulk clap, like boosh, and everyone went flying to the background. I'm like, now that I can find in a waveform. That's really all I care about. Yeah, we're definitely burned out from all hanging out together for the first half of this week here at GDC.
I'm not burned out. I'm recharged after hanging out with you guys.
I am too. I'm just trying to be cool and pretend like I didn't actually like seeing you guys for several days and traveling with you. GDC, Sarah. Haley is a pro at this point. How many GDCs have you been to in the last 4 years, Haley? Most of them?
3, yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah, I've been going, I went once with Game Informer, maybe twice with Game Informer, and then since 2021, I've gone to all these GDCs. And then, Sarah, you went way back in the pre-COVID era.
2016.
Okay.
Wow.
I was a college student. Yep. Senior in college. I was like, let me go to this. I got like a grant to go, I think. I was like, let me go to this GDC thing and like see if I could find a job. Don't go to GDC to look for a job. Cannot recommend it less.
I mean, it seems just uncomfortable to bring up, like, by the way, I can do
there's
localization.
just no, like everyone there is there because like they have jobs and they talk to each other about their jobs. So like not really like a high, unless you're like really high level, not really like a beginner's market is what I would call GDC.
Yeah.
It's a tough zone to scramble in. There's a lot of things that are fascinating about GDC, which, by the way, if you don't know, it's the Game Developers Conference every year in San Francisco. There's a bunch of panels where game developers kind of share their stories, share some technical details. It's delightfully nerdy at times. We'll be talking about panels and other GDC highlights along with Jenna Garcia on the next episode of Bonus Pod, which is the Patreon exclusive podcast. You can unlock that if you support us at the $5 tier on Patreon. But overall, it's a lot of the game industry converging in San Francisco, and it's lovely. Shout out to everybody who said hi. It was very sweet. Everybody who was
Which was a lot of people.
shocking.
I will say, I feel like if I hadn't gone with Ben Hansen, I probably would have had a way different experience because he was getting stopped every 5 minutes.
But also plenty of people who are like, pew pew bang rules.
Yeah.
I mean, true, but I like the MinnMax meetup, But Ben just knows everybody.
Yeah.
He knows everybody.
That's a stretch.
He's that girl in Devil Wears Prada who whispers in your ear, that's the founder of Guerrilla Games. And you're like,
He literally did that to me multiple times.
know.
He'd introduce me to someone, and then we'd walk away, and he'd be like, "By the way, Sarah, that was someone really important."
Well,
and I'm like,
And you blew it.
Yeah, you f***ed up.
No, it was specifically, it was at that indie meetup. We're talking to this guy and showing off his wonderful game, of course, Linked. And then, the fun thing is introducing Sarah is she's with MinnMax. Also, she worked on Fields of Mystria. And we can get into that, Sarah. I think that reaction was interesting from different people throughout the way. But then we walked back into the room to put mics on to do the travelogue. And I was like, Sarah, you know who that was? She's like, I have no idea. She's like, that was Max Spielberg. That was Steven Spielberg's son. And Sarah melted down I was just talking to him like a random a-hole. I didn't know it was Max Spielberg. Good Lord.
But you probably came across as charmingly effortless because you weren't reading into the...
Right.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's perfect. But you said that it was interesting to try and gauge people's reaction because some people really pop for Fields of Mystery, and so other people were like, okay, that sounds like a neat name for a thing I don't know.
Yeah, it's in that weird area where if you tell other developers or indie devs, they absolutely know Fields of Mystery, and they're like, oh my god, I love that game, you're doing such a good job. But then when you go up to games media, specifically, you'll be like Fields of Mystery, and they go, oh, and you could just see the look on their face that they've never heard of it, and I'll try to describe it to jog their memory, and they're like, I'll look it up, and I'm like, okay, well, don't bother.
We don't want your business. We don't want you to play a good game after all. I'm trying to remember what the reaction was, but when we were getting coffee on the last day, I saw Derek Yu, Leo, your beloved UFO 50 and Spelunky designer. He's standing off to the side. He's like, hey, Derek, just want to say hey real quick. And I was like, I'm going to wow him with my deep cut. I'm like, I love your game, your tabletop game, Time Barons. That's one of my favorite tabletop games of all time. And he's like, oh, that's bizarre. The co-creator of Time Barons is John, who's right there in line, who also made Party House and stuff in UFO 50.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my God. It's very exciting. But I think they did recognize Fields of Mystery. When I introduced you for that cool Fields of Mystery cred, they were like, oh yeah, Fields of Mystery, right on. It's like, you got Derek Yu and John on your side here, Sarah. Not bad.
I mean, I think that's we're all in the Steam store together.
Right.
And you know who else is doing well in the Steam store, and you pay attention to these kind of things.
Yeah.
Just
you're
different
checking the front
audiences.
page a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah. But what'd you think about overall experience, Sarah? How'd you find it?
I really liked it. I have been a GDC hater for so long, but it was genuinely so nice to get to talk to people who want to talk to me about my job and want me to tell them about my job and ask my opinion on things. And I'm like, wow, this is actually really nice. And I don't really get this because I work by myself out of an attic. It's nice to connect with people and just feel valued, I guess. Yeah, so suddenly big fan of GDC.
Because you get to be a little bit of an expert there, instead of just going in being maybe begging people for jobs, which would be okay, people, maybe I can help some other people with things I've learned about marketing Fields of Mystery at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did a whole gosh darn panel along with other folks.
Yes. Yeah, that was wild. I got added to the panel a month before GDC. So around February-ish, early February, they were like, hey, Sarah, we were originally doing 2 people. We want to open it to 4 people. You're one of them. The panel's about indie game marketing and how to help indie games strategize marketing when they're launching, because that's kind of a weak point for them. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Would love to join. And then we did a bunch of prep for it. We wrote a bunch of notes for it. And then I get to GDC and I was so nervous. I was so nervous to do it, and everyone kept asking me about it.
And the worst thing, are you nervous about your panel? Are you nervous about your panel? It's well, I am now.
And I'm I literally, I am in a waking nightmare about this panel, right? Yeah, thanks for reminding me. And just to shout out the other people who were on the panel, Meredith Hall from Summerfall Studios and Dana Trabella from Spoken Meal Strategy. We were supposed to have Jenny Wyndham, but she had like an emergency right before GDC. So we're down a person. So it's already pretty stressful. You know, it was Tuesday at 4 p.m. So I kind of just had to sit with it. I was like, okay, well, like, how bad could it be, right? Like, how bad? We show up 20 minutes early to the panel. Our rooms are mixed up. It's us and this other speaker. It's like the indie soapbox, and they don't know who's supposed to be in what room.
Oh no.
So there's like people in both rooms. There's a line out the door, and I'm like, okay, I just wanted to sit quietly, review my notes, like get my laptop set up. Like, this is really it's not great. Like, the staff was really great. They were like, stand here so we don't lose you. And the people are like, there's like a huge line, and I'm like, who's that line for? Like, might not be for us. But they got the rooms all figured out. But then we walk into our room. We walk into the room, and this is like what you have nightmares about. Like, the person goes, okay, like, this panel is no longer indie soapbox. It's indie, like, hitting the bullseye. Everybody in the room stands up and leaves. And I'm literally standing there with Meredith, and I'm like, well, like, I mean, like, this literally can't get any worse. Like, emotionally for us. Like, there's nowhere to go but up.
Were they booing you as they walked out of the room?
Yes. I was like, you guys don't want to know about indie marketing? So they swap the rooms around. We only have, like, a few seconds to, like, get situated with everything. I saw, let's see, like, Haley, Janet, Isaiah in the front row. They were front row for me, so I felt a lot better about that. And the room did fill up again. I was impressed. We had, like, a pretty full room.
You got a lot of questions, too.
Yeah, and then we did the talk. I think I did really well. I didn't really have my notes because my laptop was commandeered.
Oh,
so I was just sitting there with like a notebook going off of that, and I blacked out.
Yeah, that happens.
And then suddenly it was over, and we had, like 15 minutes and unlimited questions, like so many questions.
That's got to be nice. I feel like questions, it's got to be a more casual environment. You actually get to figure out what people want. And also, it feels a little more like podcasting than standing in front of people and giving a presentation or something, you know?
Yeah, it is. And it's nice because we had such a range of, like, experiences on the panel that there wasn't, like, a single question we just, like, couldn't answer.
Right.
But yeah, I think we did, like, really, really, really well. Like, the sound guy came up to me afterwards. The sound guy. And he was like, oh, like, you guys did, like, a really good job. And I'm like, okay. I was like, oh, I bet you say that to everyone. And he just looks at me dead in the eye, like, this is a super serious, like, old man. And he goes, no, some of them are really awful. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, thank you for the compliment.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah,
Sarah, have you done public speaking like that before? You were great.
No, Thank you, Haley.
I remember, what was that, the GlitchCon? I went to your panel at GlitchCon.
I did a talk in college, but like, I don't think you can compare that to like us speaking at a convention, you know?
You know what I noticed about you, Sarah, was you seemed very calm, and your podcast, I think you speaking on podcasts helps because not only did you remember what to say, is then you'd always end on like a little joke or something, which most people can't even remember what to say, but you knew what to say, and also you were funny. So it was like immediately like easier to remember what you were talking about and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like when they peter out.
You like when they peter out? And that's it.
Something
no,
like
I
that.
was... Yeah, I did way, like, when I first spoke, I was like, okay, my voice is strong. It's not shaking.
Perfect.
I think I did really well. I think I was possessed by the spirit of something. And then I blacked out and it was over, and everybody was really impressed with me.
That's awesome. It's very satisfying to go from like you being worried about it, and then seeing you after, and you're being like, oh, we killed it. I killed it. It was really good. It's like, well, that is so sweet to hear.
We literally could not like extract ourselves at the end because everybody wanted to talk to us.
And lift you up over their
heads
and carry you out of the room.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I need to like go places.
And now you're addicted to the GDC lifestyle.
Honest to God, I messaged Haley and I was like, if you do a talk, can I be your moderator?
Ooh.
I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
Ooh, interesting. I
love that.
Taste for it now. That's sweet. Haley, good time at GDC. Found a bunch of legal clients. I know you have a kind of dual role thing, which is funky.
Yeah, dual role, but symbiotic two roles. Like, it kind of was like GDC on easy mode for both things, because it was like, I want to see games for MinnMax purposes. And then the games I want to see for MinnMax purposes are like ideal potential clients. So I would just like hang out with them, play their game. I had a couple appointments, but most of the time it was just like seeing the games at like the Xbox Mixer or the Uber PR thing, or whatever event that's going on where you can just kind of walk around the room, but always ending it on, and sidebar, I'm also a lawyer. Here's my card if you ever need any help. And they'd always just be like, oh my God, yes, actually, or yeah, I'll look into it. I'll contact you. What was really fun was I had a couple appointments essentially where there was downtime while they were setting up the demo or something like that. And, I was like, well, while you're just like getting that ready, like if you have any questions, I can give you free legal information right now if you want. And they were just like, actually, yeah. And they like had a bunch of music licensing questions. So I just like answered a bunch of those like while they were setting up the demo. I was like, this is perfect. They get free information. I get to play their game. And then, if they don't become a client down the road, I'm not bothered either way. Like, they're totally free to do whatever they want. But it's nice to know that maybe in like 2 years or something, they'll say, I think we need a lawyer now. Who was that girl? Oh, yeah, Haley. Like, you don't really expect like to come home to a bunch of emails. It's more of just like being the presence in that industry that they might need eventually in the future. Because I get clients from last GDC like during the year, even people just kind of remember you.
Right. And to be clear, we talked about it before, but I mean, Haley either discloses she worked on these games or she's silent about these games on the podcast.
Or I will never talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've noticed,
like
she's been silent.
Privilege
right. It's a funky thing.
It's like an NDA on steroids. Like if I breach that, it's like the worst of the worst kind of thing. So if I'm ever being silent, don't read into it.
There you go. That's all. I gotta say, it is really. It's comforting to travel around GDC with you two. Like Janet was there as well, like not with MinnMax, and so it's kind of letting her do her own thing with Isaiah for their podcast. But it was really satisfying to like walk around with you two because I felt like, okay, no matter what, I feel like I have a cool in with developers. It's good to be like, oh, hey, yeah, we're all with MinnMax, but Fields of Mystria and video game IP lawyer. People like, surely that web of like media versus hit indie game versus pretty novel legal access, like, okay, we could maybe make people smile a little bit more. We were walking around with a little
just
juice.
Looking for smiles.
Just hunting for smiles, Leo. You know what it's like.
A power duo, and Ben is there too. Love that.
And some geek said, I like your podcast. So that's not worth nothing. No, speaking of geeks.
You do give the assistant on Veep.
yes, exactly. But yeah, shout out to everybody who came out to the community meetup. We had that at the Tempest. Shout out to Tony and everybody there for lining it up. Karen behind the bar for doing a great job for arranging everything there. That was very, very sweet and fun to have everybody swing by and have some developers swing by. It's fun to like, at a certain point, like pull Sarah's side. Be like, Sarah, I really want you to meet this guy. He was a lead designer for Final Fantasy 15 and he'd be delighted along with his wife if you could speak Japanese with him a little bit. And it was a very loud bar and just like glanced over at a certain point and I saw Sarah like getting his wife's business card in a very Japanese way, looking at it. I'm like, yes, Sarah pulling like the big Japanese Hail Mary business card look. We got a nice. Pro in our midst. But yeah, shout out to everybody who came out for that meetup on Monday. That was delightful.
I got to meet Sam Lake.
How was that?
It was so fun. Jill Grote was such a wing woman. She was the bomb. We were at the IGF mixer thing, Independent Game Awards mixer, and it was like a VIP thing before where everyone's just kind of like walking around. I got to hang out with Daniel Bloodworth a lot there too. That was nice. I saw some clients who were up for awards, so that was cool too. But then I was talking to Jill, and I'd seen on Blue Sky that Sam was there, and he like posted a selfie. I was like, you know who else is here? Sam Lake. And she goes, he's right there. And I looked to my right, he's like 5 feet away from me. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I want to go say hi. I need to go say hi. I'll regret it if I don't. And she's like, I can go over with you. I was like, you are such a bro. I would love it if you came over with me. And he was really sweet. I just said like, love your games. I think you're great. Like Remedy's, I'm a really big fan of Remedy. Love what you're doing. And he was really sweet. He was there to get a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah. So that's why he was there. And he said he had just flown in. He was 33 hours without sleep. And I was like, I get the hint. No dancing. Like Jill was like, no dancing tonight, right? He's like, no dancing. And he was just, then we kind of like left him alone. I wanted to be like, okay, good night. Like have a good night. I would like, that's all. But that was it. And then I was just like, yee! It was so fun. It was so cool to see him in person.
Baldur's Gate guy, who after you met Sam Lake?
I liked meeting Sven last year. I got to talk to Sven more last year. Like Sam Lake was like, he actually was alone over in the corner, which I thought was crazy. That's why I was sort of like not intimidated to go say hi. He was with one other person. But Sven was at that Xbox event, yeah. So we got to at least, I mean, you literally walked up, you were like, have you met Haley? And he was just like, hi. Like you like shoved me into
have you met
Haley? Which I appreciate.
Yeah, you're about to.
Yeah. I would have done it.
How were the awards overall? Did you have thoughts on what won game of the year?
They were great. I mean, Balatro, let's go Balatro, which is my client, disclaimer. But yeah, they won quite a lot of awards. Something else that's fun is...
Hang on, let me stop you right there. You don't need to go into secret information if you're like high-fiving local thunk behind the scenes and stuff, because he wants to say secret anonymous. But when a game that you signed legal paperwork for wins game of the year, does anyone come up and say, hey, come have a drink with us after the show, or is it just you get to be in the distance feeling happy for yourself?
I get to be in the distance feeling happy, and
Okay.
that feels right. I didn't do anything to help make Balatro be successful. I quite literally just did a legal service for that. That's just... I'm just excited that it's happening to such a humble and nice person who cares a lot about the indie industry. Like, that's what makes me really happy. And I can attest that they really are like that. They are super humble, super chill, just wants to see other people buy more indie games. So it's fun to see that win that. And, even looking, what I was talking to my boss about was like the indie debut section. 3 out of the 5 indie debut nominees we did the publishing agreement for.
Whoa.
It's that feels great. Like, it's just cool to be like in that scene, I guess, in a unique way. Like, not at all. I don't want to even think about being credited to the success of any of those people.
Right.
I think they're all just amazing, but it's fun to just like feel proud for them, I guess, and just be like, yee, like, good job, and just be excited.
Yeah, for sure.
Be like helping them be treated fairly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Make sure they get money and they can, the next 10 years of their life are good and not bad, even though they found the success.
Yeah.
Which seems very important to the health of the game industry. So I'm not saying you're solely responsible, but don't try and be like, I just did a little something. Like it seems like a crucial part of the business of games here.
Yeah.
Leo, do you know who I got to meet during GDC?
Who?
The most important
Mario.
cameo of all. Not Mario. MeUndies everywhere. My underwear that I wore every day at GDC. And I gotta say, Leo, I met them and it was good, buddy.
Ben, we need to
How would they
discuss the
do
way
that?
you travel, because
Just
you don't
steel
have to
beam.
travel like this.
What is your problem with my traveling philosophy? It's a bit of a problem for you, philosophy.
It
Sarah.
is. Ben shows up with like the
Okay,
smallest bag.
if I may.
And it's
let me
full
set,
of
okay,
80% of it's a Steam Deck.
Let's hear Sarah's side first.
No, I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to tell
wanna
you
hear
setting
Sarah's
up
side.
how we get to this, which is traveling with Sarah. We sit down in the Minneapolis airport and I unzip my bag like a gentleman so that I can grab my Steam Deck and play Cool Star of Providence sitting there at the airport or whatever. And Sarah, meanwhile, nosy Nancy, peering into my personal bag to apparently review my MeUndies and everything else her greedy eyes touch. And then the scoff, once she looked at my bag, was damning.
It's hanging on by a literal thread.
The bag is old, but it's rugged. It's time and world tested, Sarah. That's what you want. And then
And I love how it's like most of the bag was the Steam Deck. Like, you had more like Steam Deck camera, you had laptop, you had more things in there that weren't personal belongings, like clothes, underwear, shampoo.
we were going to be there for 2.5 days. I'm not dressing an army. I need like 2 pairs of pants. What else is going on? Yeah, the level when you got to like, you are the kind of freak. You're the type of ape who doesn't even bring his own shampoo. It's like, that's what the hotel
know. I
is
was like,
for.
oh,
What are you
I like
talking
Hotel
about?
shampoo I was at the same hotel with you. That shampoo smelled like straight up chemicals. It smelled awful. You're telling me you used that all week?
It's not going to poison you. Leo, will you get my
gross.
bag here? It's not gross. It's soapy crap. It's
kind
fine.
of gross.
You can't get Leo's
You know what
opinion.
people do with those
The
bottles?
shampoo.
So you're assuming everybody shoved those
Why?
bottles up their butt?
I remember I didn't bring conditioner because I don't like to condition my hair because it gets greasy super fast. I was like, I'll see what their conditioner smells like. I squirted a little on my finger and I smelled it and I immediately went, "Bleh," and I washed it off my finger. I wasn't using that.
So you just don't want your hair to smell weird from the shampoo? That's the...
Yeah, and it probably sucks. It probably would damage your hair because it's probably like they probably take all the bottles and pour it into one big bottle at the end of the week. You know,
Damage
they
your-
go
it's not-
split it up.
It's not like tar. It's not acid. It
was
just
stinky.
a slightly inferior product maybe
I just
for
don't
2
like
days.
trust what people, because like these
Yeah.
weren't like, the kind of bottles that they like, the little ones that only get like one-time use. This was like a bottle that they're clearly refilling because it was like glued to the wall.
And like had a
You don't
lock
know
on
people
it.
Yeah, you know what people are doing with that?
Someone could be sticking their lips on it and sucking it off in the freaking shower.
I should get so lucky as to have shampoo that's sucked off in a shower. Chat is getting my back. 100% of people say.
Did you use the shampoo or did you not use shampoo for those 2.5 days?
No, I use shampoo. Yeah, I'll use.
I can tell your hair's really lacking body and volume.
We can see the stink lines.
Your face when I said that was so sad. I really felt bad.
I'm a light packer too. Maybe it's something about being one of us guys, but it's like streamlining my trip as much as possible for sure. What's the minimum amount of clothes I can get away with and not be stinky? And it's more important for me to bring a scent to wear than like a shower product to make me smell good, I find.
Did either of you notice that I smelled funky the entire trip?
No.
Exactly my point. Sarah's not making a facial expression anyway, so I assume
Sarah was closer to you on the planes and stuff. Yeah.
Any stink?
Well, we didn't sit on the plane going home, so
that's right. That's really where I was like peak stink.
Did you guys have separate seating for the
They separated us
we
for our own
to.
good.
Yeah, we were going to attack each other on the flight back. But we were texting about a text watch along for Mufasa the Lion King, which was.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Sarah. So if you're watching the travelogue, which by the way we made a GDC travelogue, which is hopefully releasing this Monday. If you're at the $10 tier, you get the extended version, which is going to be about 6 hours long, showing off our entire trip to GDC. But it's not so much a travelogue as it is just one long max spoilers about the film Mufasa the Lion King, because I gotta say, like, I think that trip started out on the perfect note, Sarah, of us finding our Venn diagram of movies we kind of wanted to watch, but also wanted to make fun of, and like having one earbud in, and then the other one just like out so we could just make fun of Mufasa the Lion King. It's like, this is the perfect note to kick off the trip with Sarah on. It's just dunking on Mufasa for 2 hours. It's perfect. So thank you for that gift,
And then you
Sarah.
got to watch it again while our plane failed to land.
Because Leo, I thought it'd be funny.
You watched it twice.
Yeah, I thought it'd be funny because we had like a little bit of time left in the flight. And so Sarah was like reading a book or something sophisticated, writing the next great American novel or something. And I'm like, oh, won't this be funny? I'm just going to quietly put on this movie that Sarah hated one more time on my headset. And then I was laughing to myself at how funny this joke was of just playing that movie again. And Sarah never reacted, never glanced up at the screen 1 foot away from her playing a movie she didn't like. Like eventually at the end, it was no longer funny. I stopped giggling, and then I'm just straight up watching Mufasa again. And then Sarah, after we landed, looks over and she's like, "What? Why are you watching it again?" But I was expecting a bigger reaction from you on that one, Sarah.
That is a classic bit.
I thought it was a great
Unironically, the book I was reading was titled "I Who Have Never Known Men," and it's about a world without men.
It was
You were
weird.
lost in it.
I can't imagine. It was weird in the travelogue how much Lion King kept coming up. It might come up later in this episode. I swear, unprompted. I wrote my get a load of this before we watched Mufasa. But also, like, on the GDC show floor, they had, like, a big list of, like, here's all the NES games that were lost that weren't released, right? And so we did, like, a big random thing of, like, okay, bam! Just, like, spinning the globe and putting your finger on it and stopping at a spot. I did that, and my finger happened to land on the Lion King game for NES. And in the travelogue, Sarah, I think you're like, okay, you forced that. I'm like, no, it was entirely random. It was a wild wing, and out of the hundreds of games, I chose the Lion King, the movie we've been talking about for 2 days straight. Anyways, good times. We played some games there, a handful of games here and there. Did you make it through the full demo for To a T, Haley?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe there was, I kind of felt bad. It was quite a long demo. It was like, I was sitting there for what, 10, 15 minutes or something.
There's a line forming behind you.
I could feel like people forming behind me, so I felt, I played that long, and then I was like, I'll let somebody else have a try. But yeah, no, I liked it.
So this is from the creator of Katamari, Keita Takahashi, forgive me for the pronunciation, but the creator of Katamari, Damacy, it is his new game with Annapurna publishing it, and it's called To a T. It is, believe it or not, it's charming as all hell.
So charming.
It's very cute. The premise is you play as a kid named Teen, just a default name is Teen, and the kid is stuck permanently in a T pose. And so they can never put their arms down from being just out as a T pose.
Lazy devs.
And then the game is just you quietly going about your life. I mean, to call it an adventure game is even overly simplistic.
It's a vibes game.
Yeah.
It's like Oh Dada or Wadum. Like they also made like those kind of games where it's like this is pretty to look at, and it's just a thing to go through. I don't know, which I love games like that.
I love it. It's a funky one. I got to play in front of the creator here when I was at the Xbox event. He like watched me play through that whole demo, and it's weird when you're, you know, being watched by a developer when it's like a really intense, complicated game. You think you're getting something wrong, but it's also just weird when it's such like a lighthearted, breezy game. It's like, okay, the puzzle is move your arms so that you can turn the sink on and gently brush your own teeth, right? And just to have him like staring at me and chuckling every time I would mess up, it was an intense, weird environment here. But I'm curious, at the end of the demo, Haley, which maybe you didn't get to, like it teases the idea that the teen character gets some sort of superpower at the end where they can turn into like a whirlwind.
Okay.
And like fly around and suck things up. So I'm curious if like that's going to be kind of the main thrust of the game, or if it is going to be just
physics-based thing.
I don't know.
Satisfying.
I don't know. Yeah, because if it's just like going through the life as somebody in a T pose, the entire game might get a little bit dry, but cute, whimsical. The musical sequences are like really fun and silly. So that was a highlight there.
What I didn't clock until I was kind of actually playing it was this is totally like a commentary on like disability as well.
Right.
Like, which is really nice. It's just like, here is a kid who has a disability, who has like a dog that helps them do everyday tasks, which I'm sure a lot of kids out there are like that too. And it's just like, everything's positive about it. They're never like, oh my gosh, I'm so hindered. You just have to do the thing the way that the kid has to do it. Like they're in a T-pose, that's the way they have to do it. So you do it. And they're never just like upset about it or angry or frustrated. They're just like, I brushed my teeth. And then you go do the next thing. And I was like, this is kind of really positive and nice without even having to like talk about the subject matter it's about, which I didn't clock just from looking at trailers.
Yeah, for sure.
It said in collaboration with Able Gamers at the end of the trailer.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. So May 28th is when 2AT is coming out, and talking to Kaito a little bit about it. And him just being like, I was like, hey, how you feeling? He's like, oh, we're extremely nervous about this game launch. Like, this is like such a feel-good game. Like, this is going to be met with such a warm embrace. There's no reason to be worried about it. And not in a negative way, but it was the complete opposite of, I talked to a developer who's working on that game called Blueprints, which is coming out April 10th. If you don't remember this, it's like you're in this mansion, kind of puzzle adventure style thing as you're kind of uncovering the secrets of a mansion. And it's funny because we heard from maybe some people who had played Blueprints that they're like, oh my God, in a good way. And then it was
I heard a lot of people bring this game up.
Yeah. And then, so keep it on your radar, everybody, especially if you like stuff like Outer Wilds is the interesting comparison. But then talking to one developer who's working on Blueprints at the IGF Pavilion, I was like, how are you guys feeling about the launch coming up soon? He's like, really, really, really good. He's like, we are sitting back pretty. He's like, again, not in a crappy, cocky, horrible way, but he's like, the original creator made Blueprints. And he finished it in like 2016 or 2015, and then brought on like a whole different team to like iterate on everything and build on everything that they built and finalized back then. So it's just been like a decade of like boiling this down to now to the point that's like, we know this is going to
launch a game
be
when
perfect.
you're actually done with the game and like you're like, I can't improve on this at all. Ugh.
Yep, that's what Blueprints is doing. So look forward to that one coming up April 10th. We'll be talking about it here.
Looks super cool.
It does seem cool. Let's see, what else did you play that you liked, Haley? Anything you want to highlight?
Yeah, I like Detective Dotson.
We've got Dotson here.
Sarah and I both played that. It's very charmingly, it looks very charming. We talked to one of the devs while we were playing it, who he loved Sarah and I because we just kept going, oh, ooh, and he was like, you guys are great. This is awesome. It's just like a puzzle game where you're essentially collecting evidence and information to figure out certain like mysteries that are afoot kind of thing. But I think the visual look of this was really striking. It's like the 2D sprites in the 3D, also sprite-ish world. There's like a lot of depth of view. So like, things in the furthest of the back move slower so that you feel like it's a real 3D space. And the developer was, he's from India and he was just kind of saying like he wants more games that represent India in like a cool, interesting, positive way. And we couldn't see it, but he was like, oh, everything that's written here is a little joke and stuff like that, which Sarah and I couldn't clock because we don't read that. But it's fun. It's fun that type of gamer is getting marketed to with a cool game like this. Yeah, for sure. The developer was there in the past when they were showing off. Oh my God, what is the cooking game? That was really good. Venba, yes. He was helping to show off Venba in the past. That's cool. Oh, was he? Yeah, no, it's cool. He's showing off Detective Dotson with their own game. But Detective Dotson is the name of that thing. I played a Herdling. Oh. Do you remember this game? You're a little shepherd. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's from the creators of the Far series, like Far Changing Tides and Far Lone Sails that Kyle was always really hot on. But yeah, the studio is called Okomotive, and they're from Switzerland. But Panic is publishing this one. Panic, they said, like, it's the biggest game we've ever published. And so it's a funky thing where you're herding these giant furry beasts, starting out in a city, kind of recruiting them. Then you get out into the great wilderness, and then you're herding them to a mountain is the idea. But the part I didn't really clock until I was playing it was like, you can name all of the beasts as you recruit them, and you can like pet them as they go along, you recruit more and stuff like that. But a big part of the game is trying to keep them safe. And so it's going to be brutal because giant like eagles can come down and just grab them and fly away, or they can die in other ways. So it's going to be one of those games that you see, it's like, oh, that's a cute game. You're herding big fuzzy things. It's like, yeah, but you're going to be connected to these big fuzzy things, and then they're going to be dying left and right. But it's going to be fun to have that feeling of like, oh, I've had that big guy since the start, and he's still around, and Eagle hasn't taken him out, as we're trying to make our way across the plains. So it seems really cool.
Love that. I'm going to get emotionally invested in those little guys for sure.
Herdling coming out summer 2025. They haven't gotten more specific yet. We also played that funky game that was at State of Play called Dreams of Another.
Oh, yeah.
This was at the Day of the Devs thing, but this is from Q Games, technically a pixel junk joint, which talking to them about like, what makes it pixel junk, but pixel junk isn't in the name, and their angle is that any game, I think this is what they're saying, any game that is not like a contract game, but a game that's fully developed by Q Games, they're calling a pixel junk game now internally, even though it doesn't have it in the title anymore like they used to. But Dreams of Another, it's the one that, strangely enough, looks a lot like a Dreams game, kind of that fuzzy art style, and it's third person, and you're revealing the world by shooting it with a gun, which is the weird discordant element, is this peaceful looking game, very artsy fartsy, and then you're revealing the story by just shooting everything around you and uncovering like characters and clues as you're trying to piece together what's happening. So kind of Unfinished Swan vibes, I guess, for slowly uncovering the world around you. But yeah, Haley and I both had the experience of like in a short demo, both of us were like, I just want to shoot everything. Like it's just such a simple mechanic of like, I want to clear out this entire room just to make sure that I get every ounce of story here, because just shooting everything in sight, yeah, it's like a power wash simulator level of satisfaction that I wasn't expecting from Dreams of Another there. Another one that I liked was we went to an indie event, and Mike Futter, formerly of Game Informer there, he was like, hey, there's this competitive match 3 game that seems pretty good. And so we eventually uncovered it, and then Sarah and I went 1v1, and then the internet cut out because Sarah was losing, which was pretty convenient.
I was actually winning, and that's why the internet cut out, I think.
It's not exactly how I remember it, Sarah, but this is called Rise of Elements, which is very up my alley, where it's, competitive Bejeweled. They compared it a lot to Puzzle Quest, naturally, because you have like different attacks and stuff. You're matching different sword icons to do bigger attacks and unlocking new abilities and stuff like that. But the art director was formerly an art director at Riot, working on League and stuff. So it looks really nice, and I just love the idea of a team going all in on like a tight, competitive match 3 online play, but no free-to-play nonsense, at least that we saw. I can't imagine they're going to pack that in. It seems like they want kind of the purity of just having a good competitive match 3. But I know they've kickstarted it, and I think they could use some more funding is the way they're explaining it. But Rise of Elements is the name of that game from Wicked Fox Games. I thought it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be talking more about GDC next episode of Bonus Pod. You can unlock it by supporting us on Patreon at the $5 tier if you want to get behind the scenes even more on everything going on there. But Leo, do you know how this whole thing operates?
I have always wondered.
I will tell you exactly how this thing operates. It operates because of people going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, jumping in at any tier, and I'm talking about the people. When I say the people, I'm talking about people like Alfred S. jumped in at the $5 tier, unlock that bonus podcast feed, which has Bonus Pod and a bunch of podcast versions of The Deepest Dives, early ad-free access to the MinnMax show, a bunch of other stuff like that. We have Jorby, related to Orby? You tell me. They just jumped in at the $2 tier, got access to the Discord. They can submit questions for the podcast, submit comments for The Deepest Dive. Ton of other benefits there. So shout out to everybody jumping in. People drop out every day. So this is how we stick around. So thank you, everybody.
I love you, Jorby.
I don't know, that's a little far. We don't really love you, but we appreciate you, Jorby. Yeah.
I love you, Jorby.
Okay, but we just appreciate you, though, by and large.
Appreciate Jorby.
Okay.
I love you, Jorby.
Okay, come on, everybody. It's a gentle like at most. All right, here we go. Ready for these?
Mm-hmm.
I said, are we ready for these, Leo?
Yeah.
Jorby likes them. That's right.
I don't impress Jorby.
Darthbane79 writes in. They say, hello, MinnMaxers. Seems like all of you have traveled together one way or another. So my question is, how would you rank the best travel buddies among the cohorts? I'm guessing Kyle's at the bottom of the list since he doesn't like to travel. Yeah, I guess if we did drag him out, he would be the most miserable. Yeah, he'd be like spitting in our food, probably hissing at strangers.
I traveled with him on the Spider-Man trip at Game Informer.
And how was
And
it?
yeah, where would you rank him?
Yeah.
I don't remember it one way or the other. You know?
So right in the middle.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah, I traveled with him a couple
I
times.
remember nice lunches and stuff, yeah, but no snoring or whatever.
Yeah. He definitely has the feeling of, I want to go home right now, but politely, I think is the way I would describe traveling with Kyle. Yeah.
That's almost more anxiety inducing though, because then I really don't want to displease him by dragging out the trip.
Yeah.
To be home.
Yeah, well, we're going home no matter what. You can't delay the flight even if you wanted to, Haley.
Okay.
I have a tough time with this question. It's lovely traveling with all y'all who have traveled with so far, but like compared to the Game Informer experience, I feel like I just can't get a read on traveling with people because Game Informer, it was like make or break because you had to sleep in the same hotel room with all of these gentlemen.
I hate that.
And so it would just be a matter of who's the loudest snorer at Game Informer, which obviously was Matt Miller and Adam Biesner. And it was a matter of just
Hey, Ben Reeves put up some serious decibels as well.
he fought for it. There's no doubt about it.
He brought earplugs for me.
Oh,
Which is very sweet.
self-conscious about it.
That is nice. But that, compared to like sleeping in the same hotel room, it's like, I don't know, we just get some lunch and have some drinks. This is so much easier.
So my ranking is
Yes, please.
Haley is definitely at the top.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Just because like she's always got a great attitude. She's like very chill, very low key, but like also not afraid to call the Uber. Which this is what I find with groups. Is like you need someone who's gonna like spearhead calling the Uber and calling the next like destination.
Right.
Then it's Leo because Leo is also very chill.
Thank
Very
you.
vibey, very vibe space, like just up for whatever. Ben, you're third?
Rude.
Only because you kept making me get up early.
I kept making you get up early?
Yeah. It was like, what time do we want to wake up in the morning? And then you're like, 8? 8:15? 8?
Which is 10:15 according to your body's rhythm with the time zone change?
Yeah, but that was when our flight landed at midnight.
I'm sorry for wanting to attend GDC by going to GDC.
I remember
see,
Sarah said, I want to get a coffee in the morning. You're like, you're going to have to get a 20 minutes early.
Every single morning, I was like, I had in my schedule, like, Sarah gets a little coffee and, like, decompresses and, like, gets ready for her day. Didn't exist. No such thing as a little coffee. Ben drinks decaf coffee, which, honestly, I feel like should put him in 5th place if I had anyone to put him below. Because what the hell is that? Who does that?
I also ordered every Uber when we were together.
You did.
There you go.
So,
And yeah.
So
So
not
I
that
will
bad.
say it was nice as me who like I got into follower mode because I was so burnt out. I just kind of followed Ben around after a certain point. Didn't ask questions, just got in every Uber.
With Ben, you're in safe hands for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
No situation will be awkward. At worst, you will be
True.
Very true.
watching
very true.
him handle it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you always got to lead the convos and just point to us and be like, they're cool too. And I'd be like, and then you finish the conversation, which was nice.
You're good at bringing people in, and you want to do that, but it's like you can handle it yourself too.
Oh, that's nice.
When I'm not in the mood to.
Right, I got it. Haley's number one, I will say.
Yeah, I get it. He's giving you nice compliments. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's nice. I was Haley, wonderful travel partner, always delightful.
Aw,
there was one beat when we were doing a bit in the travelogue that everyone was angry about doing, and I was thinking about it in retrospect. Everyone was getting a little on edge end of the last day, and then Haley's like, let's have a competition to see who can kick the highest. And then it turned into a very fun competition to see who can kick the highest. I was like, thank God Haley throws out that Hail Mary to break this tension of, we think this is a dumb idea, Ben, we don't want to do this for the travelogue.
I got a spike of hyperness. I might as well act on this.
I appreciate that. But also, Haley, obviously number one travel partner. At the same time, Sarah, the tension of thinking Haley had died at a certain point, she did cause us the most stress when she disappeared off the face of the map. A little stressful, Haley.
Oh my
We
God.
thought that she had died, but she was just in the bathroom.
What's the difference?
I did a loop of that PR event, And then I immediately got sucked into it. You know how they say, oh, press, and they come right over and bring you over to their terminal, which fair enough. So I started doing that, and then I stood up, I looked down, 3 missed calls from Sarah. I was like, oh, crud. And then I said, you guys were like, we're downstairs, what the hell? And I said, I'm upstairs. And then I stood by the elevator, and I was like, oh, I have to pee. I might as well go pee because it's right here. When pee came out, it looked like I had just been in the dumper the whole time, I will admit.
There's no evidence you weren't. Yeah. Meanwhile, we were like running through the streets of San Francisco at 10:45 at night because I think I'm going to find Haley in a back alley. Just
they thought upstairs meant heaven.
Velta says, what's your favorite part of getting to do outings where folks in the MinnMax cohort get to hang out together in person? Do nude dynamics emerge?
Nude dynamics?
All nude dynamics. Only if you have to split a hotel room.
That's a great way of describing them. Yeah, nude dynamics.
Yeah, it's more physical comedy. It's nice outside of the realm of just the Discord. Like
Kicking contests.
I know apparently Sarah wanted to spit in my face, but I was delighted every morning, like sitting in the hotel, and then having like Sarah come down the stairs, and it was like just making like good physical jokes of like, Sarah, jump down the stairs, jump.
Yeah,
like,
Sarah, jump off the balcony.
Good physical comedy bits with cohorts, I very much appreciate. That you can only get traveling this way, you know?
I mean, it always hits different to hang out with people in person, and like y'all are fun, so like it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like I went to GDC solo style 3 years ago, and the amount of more fun it is just to have like the check-ins with y'all is like times a million more fun.
Yeah,
it's definitely work. There's a lot to do, but it also has like the benefits of a retreat, like the camaraderie, the banter that builds. Yeah, just like. It's like jumping ahead a few months in your relationship, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's like triple XP weekend.
Totally.
I always just feel this, I don't know if you have this, Leo, or anybody else, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, damn it. That was like the best joke of the entire trip that Sarah just lobbed and it wasn't in the travelogue. I feel every time we have a great time and it's not in the travelogue, I'm like, we're stealing from the community right now. Because, you know, I really enjoyed, like, you know, Sarah and I had a lovely final lunch at the airport. And it's like, oh, it was a good chat, you know, but it's like, God, should we have recorded that entire thing for the community? We would have been 20% less frank about our thoughts on situations, but you know, it's always that balance, you know?
It's leveling it up so that when you guys podcast together, you're closer friends, and then that is better.
Totally. The vibes of the whole trip are boosted by the conversation, including what you record later. Like, I think that's how you have to see it is.
Right.
It's all building it better.
And that's why Sarah's been so nice to me on this podcast so far? Is that the conclusion?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I'm glad the way that worked out. Let's see. Brent Carroll says, what, if anything, did you see or hear here at GDC that got you most excited for the future of gaming?
In general, just that, like, this is kind of a cop-out answer because I don't have a specific thing. Being in a room with only developers is so, it like has recharged me after like everything being a controversy these days. Everyone's got to say, oh, but this, that. Oh, you get woke, whatever. It's like, you're just in the room with the people that make the games. They love to do it. That's why they're still here. Like, they wouldn't be here if they didn't get paid, or if they didn't love it because they're getting paid so bad. They're getting laid off all over the place. I think I love seeing them also get recharged, and it like recharges me. Like seeing them network and like, oh, you're this person who did that. Like Sarah, when I walked up to you and that other woman was like asking you for tips, and you were like, oh, just shoot me an email. I'll give you the tips and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, like that just is so nice. It's just the best part of game development is like that part with like everyone being very camaraderie and like getting along or whatever. I truly felt my like gamer hate battery like getting depleted. And,
right,
like,
exactly.
It was just like nice and refreshing.
I know. I feel like
beautiful.
I'm always getting worn down, like just seeing like, oh, this game is woke, blah, 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 blah. Like it feels so exhausting having to like wade through that criticism, that when you get to like GDC and it's just game developers, like people who've dedicated their life to the same thing you dedicate your life to, you're like, oh, like none of that is here, basically. Only like positive, good vibes, and like everybody wants everyone to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. A sharing of information. It's very sweet. Luca Alberti says, hey, MinnMax crew, this week is all about the good vibes of GDC. Oh, that's part of the podcast too. In your experience, who is the industry member you met that had you go, oh yeah, they're a great person? It is funny. I do like so many people in the game industry. Most everybody, right? But it is funny, like when people report back on people they meet, like they were so nice. Like I hear this all the time about like, I was, from podcasts, like I was in the audience for SNL 50 and I met Mick Jagger and he was so nice. Like, well, yeah, at like a special event, at an awards show, everyone's in a good mood. Yeah, of course. Come on, man. But no, that said, almost basically everybody in the game industry is nice. It's very rare that I'm like, I don't really want to talk to that person. But I don't know, somebody jump out for you as being exceptionally nice that you've met, or taller or shorter than you expected, or some good stuff like that?
I mean, I knew Sam Lake was going to be nice, and he was. So that's not a very good answer. He was a bit. He was shorter than me, which was cute. I was like, oh, Sam.
What?
Oh,
I almost asked about that.
You can put him in your pocket. Oh, that's perfect.
He's just such a sweet man, lovely man. I got to meet some of my clients in person. Oh, this is why I wanted this. Okay, yeah, I got to meet some of my clients in person, which was fantastic. And it's just like, because you can't really be. When I practice law, I'm not very I'm formal in like the law application, but like when I talk to them, it's just like I always open my calls with what are you playing, what are you trying to be informal, whatever, without the biller being on. I don't start the biller until we're actually talking real law stuff.
So ethical.
But so ethical. And I know some lawyers who leave it on when they go to the bathroom and stuff. Like, yuck, disgusting. They say I'm still thinking about it while I'm in the bathroom. Like, well, that's effed up. You're an asshole. Anyways, back to what I was saying. But like, even like being with you guys in person, like it hits so different to like be in person with them in a room and realize like, because game devs are also like that type of people that like to joke around and have fun and like are good with bits and like want to just like be fun with you. So I had several meetings where it was like my first time meeting them in person. And just being like, oh, they're funny and like easy to talk to. And like, I want to go have a drink with them and like get to know them on like a friend level, like not just work. Like that was really rewarding because a lot of them are based in Vancouver. So it's not that far for them to go up to California for it.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
That's nice. Yeah. It's, we got to meet Ellie Joy Panic, who was on the podcast just once maybe. But yeah, it's fun to like see her in the distance. Like, oh, I think that's Ellie Joy Panic. And it is weird. People say it to me all the time. I'm just like, oh my God, like you not on a screen, you look so different, right? But it is funny just to try and like gauge like, oh my God, it's just seeing people's faces in 3D still freaks me out. There's so much detail on everybody here. This is, Leo, you can cut me off if this is the most boring answer possible. But in terms of like people who are like impressive, Greg Miller certainly gets enough attention, but I do really appreciate it. It always feels like he's hosting a party in whatever room he's in. I think he does a really good job. So always being like, hey, good to see you. Like he knows that it's a big deal for people to interact with him. And he always has a nice positive energy. Like we went to the Kind of Funny office and he was like sprinting into the studio to record something, but still was very sweet and screaming to the travelogue, like support MinnMax on Patreon. Like just that level of niceness I don't want to take for granted. It's a kind move. It's kind of kind is how I describe them overall.
And when you're vlogging around and stuff, he's like instantly on. He's like always on. So he's just in bit mode when you start recording him randomly at whatever event.
Yeah.
One of those people.
For sure. Also shout out Caspian Whistler, who makes the magazine A Profound Waste of Time. We met him in the press room. I think he came up and said hi to us. And then he's like, oh, I make my own magazine. It's a little bit like Game Informer, but it releases like once a year. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then he whipped out a couple copies and Sarah and Haley and I were like, this is the most beautiful magazine we've ever seen in our lives.
We sat down and just like was reading it. It was so good.
Yeah. We missed several panels, but we had to read through all the issues. But A Profound Waste of Time, if you want to check that out. It's super cool.
So cool.
Let's see. Adam Castellanos says, what is the most interesting indie game in everybody's Steam wish list?
Ooh, I love this. Do you guys
building relationships? Remember that?
Oh, I love that.
Is that the one where you have sex with houses or something?
You are a house.
You are
so
a house.
It's okay.
Okay, cool.
How do I go to wish list?
How many wish lists do you have? I have like over 100.
And sort by release date, and then the unreleased ones are at the top.
Mine is Bugaboo Pocket. So it's it's called Bugaboo Pocket. It's sort of like a Tamagotchi, but you have a bug and you sort of raise it that way. It's a virtual pet game with little tiny bugs and you raise it from like larvae like throughout their cycle. And you can play games with them and like feed them food and stuff, but I'm excited for it.
Mine is Screenbound, that game where you're holding like a little Game Boy in front of you, but it's all actually controlling what you do in the 3D world.
Oh, right.
That game looks trippy as hell.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. That was a good way to keep track of all that for sure. John Filippo Wicks, sorry, butchering it. As my Steam library can't be passed on to my son, the correct thing to do is to set up an account for my 2-year-old and then buy games on that account in case someday he wants to play them, right? Do you feel like you own your Steam games? You just have to make a password for them? But I thought it was an interesting question. So he's wondering, do you feel like you own your Steam games at this point?
You have a license to your Steam games.
Okay, lawyer.
And enough have gotten delisted that I still have access to that I have some confidence. I don't know if there's any I can't re-download and replay. I'm sure there is.
Afro
what about
Samurai
in
2?
35 years?
So, Haley, how does that work with the kid thing? There's like the family sharing thing that they've revamped. So in theory, you could just share your account with his, so that would all be fine. But then his kids...
Give him the password. I don't get this question. Just have him log into your
It's got naughty words in it.
You don't want to see all your games. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's what this question's about?
Yeah. I secretly dislike my only son, 2 exclamation point is his password. So I don't think it's going to work out well.
But like, I know when people draft like wills and stuff, they include papers of every password for every subscription service they have, which is a very common new thing. So that when someone passes away, you can go and like cancel / take over their accounts.
I do. Yeah.
Automatic motive for murder.
Who kills someone for their Steam library. You'd have to be close enough to get the papers after they die. The perfect murder.
The best Patreon member east of the Mississippi asks, so what's happening March 25th with Game Informer? What a wonderful question. A lot of people.
Jorby?
No, this isn't Jorby. I'm sorry. This is somebody
Do
called.
the next one.
Although maybe it's code for Jorby because it just says the best Patreon member east of the Mississippi. If you didn't see, we teased it earlier with Charles Hart, but Game Informer on Blue Sky and Twitter and YouTube posted a message that was basically, tune in March 25th. Something might be happening March 25th. It was very flattering and confusing to see like the Resetera thread where there's so many guesses are like, I think MinnMax bought Game Informer. I think they've revived.
Oh my God.
What do you think is going? What is going on here financially? What do you think is happening? I'm flattered that you think that's a conceivable option.
Yeah, what an insult to Game Informer, frankly.
But no, we're in the loop, but we're not involved. And yeah, you should be optimistic.
There are posts on social media that they're not following GameStop anymore on their socials. So I'm reporting those posts.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Although March 25th is the GameStop Q4 earnings. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Perfect.
That's amazing.
But yeah, also people in the Discord were like, oh, you teased you had another celebration of Game Informer piece of content you were working on that was kind of like a larger documentary, not about the full history of Game Informer, but it touches on the history of Game Informer in a unique way. And people are like, oh, he was probably holding back for whatever this is. No, it's just a big project and I haven't had the time to do it. So it's not connected.
I can't believe it took you so long. Like, now they're already teasing new stuff that you have to add.
I know, it's going to be fun. But March 25th, everybody, maybe we'll talk about it in the future. Graham Gilmore says, hey, can you guess the game from the back of the box quotes? This sounds familiar. These are all off PS4 or PS5 cases, but most of them are multi-platform, but not all of them. Okay, so back of the box quotes. I don't know what you'd call this, some sort of back of the box trivia situation. Okay, what game is this? Travel Beyond Fantasy.
Forspoken?
Very good, but no, this is a Haley jam. Sarah liked the game too. But can fantasy ever impact reality is what I'm wondering.
Oh, I wonder.
Politically.
Oh,
this is like making it worse.
Metaphor Fantasia. All right. Haley, I think this is a favorite of yours. The world doesn't need a hero. It needs a professional.
Oh, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney?
Oh, interesting. No, this is like, it's a big game from 2015 where I guess the main character has an occupation where they travel the world and help people with their occupation.
And I love it?
You love it, and the main character is hunky, I think, and he has a deep, good voice. And he's like, I like this tub.
Reviews
The Witcher?
Yeah, obviously it's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. What was not clear about those clues?
I feel like you're undoing all the goodwill we built up at GDC together with this, in a way, Ben.
Hey, Clayton Carroll wrote in. They say, hey, Minbang. That doesn't sound right.
Oh, no.
I love taking screenshots in games. I like to think that I may have one of the largest screenshot repositories in the world for games I've played. I love to capture moments of beauty, important story beats, or oddities. A total rough count of screenshots I have is around 235,000 screenshots.
Oh my God,
Holy
that's so much more than I thought.
Which is around 1.5 terabytes of screenshots. My question is, as long as it's not hurting someone or causing me financial problems, is this a problem or a passion?
No, I love it. It's like you're a traveler while you're gaming. That's super cool. It's like you're on vacation.
I feel like I only take screenshots on the Switch just because it's so easy. Everything else, I'm like, I don't really have a big library anywhere else.
The real question, is are you like going into each and every system, downloading those photos, and then like putting them on a hard drive somewhere? Because that is actually more impressive. Because I hate getting photos off like PlayStation or like Switch.
Oh my God, I meant to mention, Ben, last week you were getting on Jeffem for using what social media to like save his YouTube channel to save his videos.
Yeah.
I have, before I was on MinnMax, like in between the internship, whatever, I used to use my Twitter to move like images so that I could use them in my like guides and stuff. That I would post it and I delete it as fast as I could just because it was the simplest thing. And you always caught me. You were like the only one who'd be like, "Why, LOL, nice pic" or something. You'd write it I like
Ben
felt
would do
weird
that.
deleting it. It would be like a picture of a Minecraft seed because I was doing like best Minecraft seed guide or something, and you'd be like, "Love this one," or you just because you knew what I was doing. I was like, "Damn it!"
That's right. Delete your account. There's a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I need to fix that. It's like, the other day I just saw Polygon post like this tweet that was like, the best places to buy Assassin's Creed Shadows. I was like, that's a stupid tweet. And I like responded to it. I'm like, what am I doing by being like, take this gaming outlet, this is a dumb tweet. I was like, okay, it's not even worth being
getting
snarky.
in a fight with repeatedly for like posting spoilers? Was that for Game of Thrones? What was that for? Like, there was IGN.
IGN and GameSpot were abysmal. Oh.
You were getting into verbal fights not verbal, but you were yelling at them on the internet because they kept spoiling things like
What
movies
was that?
or
Yeah,
something.
That's vigilante stuff. People like us need to see someone fighting for that.
Yeah, I guess so. Tokyo Game Life writes in, they say, I was reading a developer interview about Donkey Kong on the Game Boy when my wife walked in and asked if I was busy. My question for MinnMax is, yes, I'm reading about Donkey Kong. Is that an appropriate answer to, are you busy?
Not to your wife.
Not to your wife. You got to drop that DK if your wife comes in. Everyone knows that. Come on. Shape up. Joshua Caleb writes in, Sarah and Haley talking about Playmobil's Laura's Happy Adventure on the latest episode of Pew Pew Bang was an absolute brain blast. And it was developed by Ubisoft Montreal? Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
They say
that-
you're not a true gamer if you didn't play Laura's Happy Adventure.
You haven't played that?
Yeah. And you think you understand the
Embarrassing.
origins of Assassin's Creed? I don't think so. I remember seeing that game running on the brand new Pentium 3 PCs at Circuit City as a kid and wanting to play it so bad, but the family PC wasn't powerful enough. So my question is, does anybody have any gaming white whale games you desperately wanted to play as a kid, but never could, and even now haven't touched either due to time or technology?
Truly, I thought I didn't have an answer for this until right now, because when on Pew Pew Bang, when they talked about Laura's Happy Adventure, they compared it to Lego Island. And that is one that I only gamed on Mac, that only came out on PC. I wanted it so bad. We did the dual booting to play games on PC sometimes. There's some way to like do it on Mac that didn't work very well. Lego Island was one of the games that did not work at all. You would get halfway through the first level and not be able to play. And I never went back and played it.
Oh.
That game's great.
And it's tough to run now. It's tough to
classic.
get up and running. I feel like we were trying to a while ago, but it's a wonky one.
New Show Plus?
New Show Plus, we struggled to get it up and running.
Play Lego Island?
Yeah, for me, it was, I grew up with just like an Apple II, and then we visited some family friends out in Seattle, and the guy worked at Microsoft. It's like a friend of my dad's, blew my mind back in the day, right? But
So you could be on the playground saying, my dad's friend works at Microsoft?
I guess so, but it was before anybody really cared about Microsoft and gaming. Like, oh, cool, you got to play Pandora's Box early? That's great. But I remember they had this PC, and they were playing this game, and it was the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen, and I had to Google around to find it, and it's called Living Books, The Tortoise and the Hare. And it came out in 1993, so I was probably 6 years old, and I saw this, and it was just like an interactive animated cartoon with the story of the tortoise and the hare. And it was up there for the most mind-blowing graphics I've ever seen in my life. Like, how is this possible? You can have a computer like this in your home that can run something like the tortoise and the hare and like click on things and the characters just like speak to you like it's a cartoon. And I was very excited because I was looking this thing up. Apparently it launched on Steam in 2024. They finally put it on Steam. And so I need to boot that up and like fulfill my childhood wish of finally finding out who wins that gosh darn race.
New Show Plus?
Because
Right
one
down, Leo,
is
right down.
fast, but one's slow, and you don't know, right?
You know what else I'm brain blasting is Spy Fox 1 and 3 came out on Mac, but not Spy Fox 2.
Oh,
what?
And I was
weird.
obsessed with 1 and 3.
I never played 2.
I play Spy Fox with you.
Huh?
I play Spy Fox with you. Pork Bun Powered says, let's say I'm an indie dev, inviting MinnMax to my hotel room to check out my new game at GDC. What's some subtle ways to create a good impression?
Don't do it in your hotel room.
Don't invite us to your hotel room.
I will always say no if it's in a hotel room. Sorry. I'm not going in.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, not to complain, but it is amazing in the run-up to GDC. It's like 20 to 30 emails a day of like, come over to this hotel room, check out this game, please. Like, we have a tight week, I'm sorry. So yeah, what do you do to make an ideal demo for somebody in the press during GDC?
I did a demo this last GDC that I liked where it was at a restaurant and they had like the corner booth. It was a quiet time of day. They had their laptop there and you could just order a drink and they said, oh, we'll get it if you want. And then you just kind of played it in that restaurant atmosphere, which was, I liked that. Then it felt more like just chilling. And, you know, they even said, do you want food? I was like, oh, no. Like that felt too crazy. Maybe one person of the day was like, give me the nachos and a burger and a shake. And then sat and played a 20-minute demo and left. That'd be an asshole move. But I thought that was really good. I was like, I liked that. That was fun. And it kind of felt like you were taking a break from GDC, even though you were still playing a game.
That is nice. And do you want them to help you, like to lean over your shoulder or to leave you alone fully?
Well, she was just sitting right beside me in our booth seat, which also booth seat, always get the booth seat. So it also felt comfy. And then it kind of just felt like I was playing a game with like a friend or something. Also, she was very sweet, so I got along with her quite well. And it was just like, that was great. Like it set up everything so that the demo, I was receiving it in a very positive place in my brain. I was like, let's see what this is.
Yeah.
Kind of energy.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think being conscious that you have done this demo 1,000 times and this person you're with has played demos like this 1,000 times. And so like the pandering and the like, you're so good at it and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you can take that layer off a little bit.
Well,
I misread this question. I thought it was about how to like design your demo. Because some games do not demo well. Oh. I thought it was like, how do I design the demo itself to like give Games Press like the best
also tough
impression? Because like my thing is, it's like some of these games have like really long intros. Like if they're just starting the game from the beginning over and over and over again. Like I don't want to sit through like, I don't want to read basically. Like if it's heavily narrative, I feel like you're in a bad position. Like start us in the middle of the game somewhere probably and just give us a little blurb about what happened.
Yeah.
You know what would work pretty well is almost having like a launch screen for every type of thing that someone might be interested in. Like if you were doing Fields of Mystery 1, like click on this to play 10 minutes of farming. Click on this to play 10 minutes of the mining. Talking to NPCs. And then it's just like only what you can do in that little section is those things. You can jump around. That would work really well too.
Yeah. Aging Poorly writes in, I was talking to a pilot who said that he'd never drive a bus. It's too dangerous. Planes mostly fly themselves. Newfound respect for bus drivers, says Aging Poorly. Do you ever get an insight into a job where you thought, wait, they should get paid way, way more than they do?
Yeah. lot. Most of them. I at the Texas airport, we were just watching somebody. We're waiting to get picked up, and they have a really bad setup for getting picked up. It's like one lane for 5 miles. It's truly deranged. And there was one person who was like catching people trying to skip the line. People who were going around and trying to sneak in, all in cars. A person would walk up and stop the car in front of them and tell them, you can't do this. You have to go all the way around now. And that person picking all those fights with these giant truck drivers driving these gigantic monster trucks. I was like, she should get paid more than Elon Musk. There's nobody working harder than her in the world.
Yep, absolutely.
Every day you wake up, you know, you're going to be having, 50 disagreements with strangers a day? That's got to be so stressful.
Yeah.
You're going to be so sharp by the end of that day, though. There's no lingering. It's not like you have to argue with members of your family. It's just like you get to argue, get snappy, rinse and repeat. Just you're going to be razor tight, as they say.
I think flight attendants should get paid. I can't imagine a tougher job than being a flight attendant sometimes. Because not only I hate flying, you have to be working while you're flying the whole time. And people on planes are always cranky. So you got to deal with that. And you're trapped in a closed space with them. Like if they're mean to you, you're going to have to be nearby them for the next, lowest 2 hours, most like 12 hours. That's so stressful. Yeah. It's not like they get better seats. They all sit on like the seats that we have in the back of the plane, so they can't even recline their chair. And when they're in the in-between parts, just like, sheesh Louise. They got to repeat the same thing every day for like the safety. Like, must be hard.
Yeah, hardest situation to be smiley service staff in, for sure.
Yeah. Plus, like, airports just make your hair greasy, but their hair always looks so good. I'm like, how do you avoid this?
Hotel shampoo.
They're not using hotel shampoo.
They're not using it.
Yeah. I was thinking about it with the interview we did with Shuhei Yoshida, former head of PlayStation, on MinnMax's channel recently, where he was talking about, having to shut down studios, how hard that was. But at the same time, he's in a spot where he's like, I made enough good money that I can kind of retire from PlayStation. I don't need a job for a while. I can just go help indie developers and I'm doing all right. And then it's just that weird thing where at a certain point at the end, I was like, maybe you can, do you ever want to develop your own game? You can go develop your own game now. And he's like, oh no, I would never do that. That's way too hard. It's like, that's such a weird spot to have like the gaming executive be like, no way, that is the hard job. The one that I laid a lot of people off from as I sat back and got paid well. And it's just that classic, like, why do executives get paid so much more than the developers who are making the game? It's a tricky thing.
And Leo? Why do they want us all in office? Because otherwise they're not doing anything? Right, interesting.
Right. I think we should flip the payment, Leo. I think they should all get paid executive levels, and the executives should get paid dirt poor. Dan Vallone writes in, says, hey, CLCs, a few weeks ago you talked about the top grossing movies of all time for each letter of the alphabet. So I have another game for you. Can you guess the top reviewed video game for each letter of the alphabet?
Ooh, fun.
These are all pulled from Metacritic. Haley, you seem to be the only person who's interested in the trivia part. I could just run through these. Do you want to try and guess some of them, Haley? Or anybody else?
Yeah, I want to guess.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. A. Recent game. Very fresh.
Avowed?
No way.
These are highest reviewed games of all time. I'd say fall to winter of last year, we were all gaga over this game.
Alan Wake 2.
Owl World.
From last year.
Alan Wake 2 was
from last year. That was the year before.
Elatro.
Oh my god, it was Elatro's B.
That's why I said Elatro.
Last year?
Anora the video game. I forgot that game. Astrobot.
Oh, I did not clock. That was the theme song.
Haley just wanted to listen to a good tune for a while.
That was just fun.
B. B is a classic. It is now a classic.
Elatro.
Nope. Iconic. When people talk about the power of narrative in video games, they talk about this game from 2007, 2008? Bioshock. Way to go. Nicely done.
Gotcha, Leo. I saw you forming the letter
I was going to say The Last of Us.
C. I would not have thought this is the highest of all time. The reviews were shockingly high. Very good, Leo. Ladies and gentlemen at home, he said Sea of Thieves was Leo's joke for the evening. This is a game that What are
the civilizations?
No, this is a game we have done a deepest dive on.
Chrono Trigger?
Oh.
No.
Chrono Cross?
Way! Yeah, 94 apparently.
Oh, wow.
Then Devil May Cry, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy.
I could do it for all these. I know we don't have a ton of time, but...
Ooh, hang on.
I know.
Okay, hang on. Oh, this is tricky. F is a Final Fantasy. Try and guess which Final Fantasy has the highest Metacritic. I never would have guessed this.
It's not 7, then.
Not 7.
Is it a mainline or is it like a spin-off?
It's mainline.
5?
No. Interesting guess. No.
9?
Yes! 9 is the highest Metacritic Final Fantasy. I love that game. That's surprising. G. You're a third of the way there.
GDC.
Come on, it's right there. It's right there.
G.
Is there another iconic game series that's an acronym that starts with G?
Gears of War. GOW.
This is for the 4th entry, which came out in 2008. There's a new entry.
Galo.
There's a new entry in Galo coming out this year that's the most anticipated game of all time.
Oh, Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. There we go.
Fine.
There we go. Then Halo Combat Evolved, Inside, Jet Set Radio, Klonoa 2, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Metroid Prime, NFL 2K1, Orange Box, Perfect Dark, Quake, Red Dead Redemption 2, Soul Calibur, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for T.
Wow.
Rated 3 for T. Uncharted 2, Virtua Fighter 4, Wipeout XL, X, of course. Let's all say it at the same time. Of course, it's Xenoblade
X-Factor
Chronicles
for the
3
Wii.
Expansion Pass Wave 4 : Future Redeemed. Why?
Let's guess Y and Z. Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
Yaris
Then I
on the
don't
Xbox
have
Live
it.
Arcade.
Close to Yaris. Haley, what the sound you made when you were trying to guess it was, you are halfway there. You're right there.
Yu-Gi-Oh! The game.
Nope. Just add.
Yoshi.
What if you added one letter onto that sound that you were making?
E-O-E-I-E-I-E.
Keep going to the alphabet.
E-I-E-I-Y.
Towards the
It's a
end.
consonant.
Towards the end, it's a consonant.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the 8th entry, and the subtitle is, say it with me, Lacrimosa of Dana.
Right.
hell is this? Yeah.
It's Yeehaw 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. No, it's East 8. East is the series that starts with
I
the
would have
Y.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's easy to remember. And then Z. This.
Zoo Tycoon.
Zoo Tycoon.
No. This got an 87 on Metacritic. This game rules. I feel a universe where Sarah played this game.
Okay,
right,
well,
Sarah.
that doesn't really say much.
It's a pirate-themed game.
Start with a Z.
Yes. Famously starts with a Z, but it also has a
Arr.
W in the title as well. It's 2 words.
And it's not Skies of Arcadia.
Skies of Arcadia.
Z?
Nope. It's
Guys.
it's Z and W, parentheses, some pirate crap. Released for the Wii from Capcom, I believe. Hidden Gem. Maybe Sarah. I don't want to put you on it. Maybe
I did
Sarah
not
will
play this.
Okay.
I did not play this.
I didn't get to it till late, and I checked it out from the Game Informer vault, and I was like, yes, it does roll. Zack and Wiki, Quest for Barbarossa's Treasure
Sure.
is the #1 Z game,
Never heard of
apparently. It's very good.
Should be Zoo Tycoon.
Of course it should. Dan
this
Valone,
down.
thank you for writing in with that one.
that was fun.
Jeff D, final question. Would you rather travel back in time to meet your great-great-grandfather or grandmother, or travel forward in time to meet your child's child and play their Steam games?
What if you don't want to have children? My niecey.
Can you change?
Niecey.
Are you allowed to go back and like change? So if I said like don't leave Norway, would they listen?
Would you want them not to leave Norway?
Yeah.
Would
That'd be interesting.
Would they know I'm a time traveler and they'd listen, or would they think she's just a crazy blonde woman from the?
I don't think you can change anything.
Who wears
You just-
different clothes?
Let's say they don't even know who you are.
Yeah, that's
Like,
better.
Ever.
That's better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I don't care. Is that weird? Is that wrong of me?
Care either direction? You choose just to pass on this opportunity?
I
I'll
feel like
pass.
nothing good could come of it.
Who do you think you look more like? Do you think you could see more of a reflection of yourself, which is what life's all about? Finding mirrors. Would you look more like, is it the same? I guess it would be the same.
I look so much like, we have like old pictures of my great-great-grandparents, and there's one in particular I'm like, that's straight up me, but in the past. It's like spooky.
Wow.
She's wearing weird clothes, and I'm like, what am I doing back there? It's like genuinely looks so much like me.
Does she follow you around when you walk around the room too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to improve your bit. Sorry.
To call it a bit is very generous, Haley.
I'd go grandchild. I'd go next gen.
You go next gen?
Next gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could ask him about the future.
Yeah, I feel like if we're talking about like what's a gain, I feel like there's more to lose by going to the past
Interesting.
and learning something I don't want to know.
right. Right. Yeah.
I would go to the future and just ask them for the most profitable stocks. And then invest. Go back here and invest.
trying to learn about life, Haley, and soak
Well,
in the majesty of
what?
biology.
They're gonna say,
Of what?
I'm me up here.
Yeah, they'll say, I'm me up here. That sounds great. I want to have that conversation.
Cool. What's Tesla
This sounds
doing?
like the opinion of somebody that has kids would have. And
Yeah.
Ben's the only one here that has a child.
Leo's with me.
so-
He wants to go see his great-great-grandkids too. Oh, man. Hell. Sarah, do you want to go to Norway and try and find our ancestors? Because maybe they lived in the
Oh
same
my
town.
God.
Do you guys
Maybe
have
we're
a
related.
great grandma in relation? Maybe.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Maybe my Norwegian last name is Gunderson, and Ben's is Hansen.
Hang on, are you talking about the goddamn Gundersons that my great-grandfather always complained about?
The Gunderson
Hansen War?
Oh no.
God. Thousands died. All right, what do you all like for question of the week?
I like travel companions.
Travel companions good. The alphabet thing, I don't want to discredit
like
that.
Travel companions.
Alphabet too, but that was a spin-off of last week, right?
Well,
That's fair.
I mean, I guess. Okay, travel companions, congratulations. Darth Bane 79. You won question of the week thanks to I Am 8-Bit. I am impressed by your question. We should have been saying that for 5.5 years. God dang. All right, now it's time for something that we like to call Get a Load of This. Hey, get a load of this. I swear I wrote this down before we became obsessed with Mufasa and Lion King, but my kid, perhaps you've heard of him, he's very into lions. It's kind of his main thing. And so we like listen to music, and so it's like, oh, I'll put on the Lion Sleeps Tonight. There's a lion track. And then was just sitting there listening to it like, what is this song? I was looking up, like, recorded by the Tokens in 1961, just the whitest looking group you've ever seen in your life. Like, there's a story here. And so it's a fun rabbit hole to go down, where originally that song was recorded in 1939 by an African artist named Solomon Linda, and it's called Mubebe. And then Pete Seeger picked it up and did like a version of it. And then it kind of circulated in the folk scene, and then it blew up in a big way thanks to the Tokens in the 60s. And then Lion King used it. And there's a long journey of, if you trace back to the origins of it, he worked, the original recorder, he worked in the record studio as a cleaner and record packer and recorded it, wrote that song and recorded it. But the folk singers in the 50s, they thought that it's like, oh, it's just one of those like old African traditional songs. Like, it's a folk song, so we don't got to worry about copyright. So they picked it up and just started recording it. And then it's in Lion King, and it's in like the Broadway version of Lion King. It's just everywhere. And it was a real fight to try and get any money back to that original family of that artist who eventually died. And there's a documentary about it called A Lion's Tale, about just trying to get some money back to that family. Because like, no, he wrote the song, everybody. It's not just a generic folk traditional song.
I feel like they could have come up with a better name for the documentary
than A Lion's Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Oh, they should have called it Mufasa, A Lion King Story. I think that would have been better.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Music by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah, that would have hit.
Yeah.
I'll get a load of this.
Damn it.
I'm setting up you. I'm saying get a load of what Haley has to say.
Thanks. I collect enamel pins. I love enamel pins. I have them all over my apartment. I have them in my bags. I have a little piece of cloth on my wall where I just stick them in to look at them. And I think I found my favorite enamel pin of all time. Are you guys ready to see it?
I think so.
Sarah, you will love this. It's Ichiban, and then
Stop!
He lifts his shirt to the left and shows his back.
That's
it's
so
magnetized.
good.
It's my new favorite thing, and there's also Kiryu and Majima versions, Sarah.
Whoa.
That's
Whoa.
awesome.
Whoa.
I love him. It's my favorite thing. It's going to go in my favorite bag, so I see it every day.
Love it.
Very
It's
cool.
not as, I didn't do as much research as Ben, but like, I've been
okay.
thinking about this thing all day and playing with it in my hands. It's really affecting my day, so I just wanted to share it.
That's better than mine. Get a load of this YouTube video. Rebecca Black, who of course did the iconic song Friday.
Right.
She's really had an interesting few years. She's primarily DJ now, and she's putting out more music. The video for Trust, I can't recommend high enough. Really, really good. She's an interesting artist right now. And she did a video with Rainbolt, the GeoGuessr streamer, who has tons of viral clips of like finding places because of the color of the sky, ridiculous stuff like that. He did a video with her where he found places she's been, some of which were like one shot from a music video or like a place she toured. And it's like an interview crossed with showing her these spaces and her playing GeoGuessr and trying to find the spot where they shot this thing. So
What a great idea.
It's a really smart format. It's really like underdone. If they put in a bunch of production value, it would be like a huge show. So
It's giving
a super
Hot
fun
Ones
video.
potential.
Yeah,
Kind of
totally.
energy. Yeah.
That's cool. Link below if you want to check it out. Sarah, you got some?
Sorry. Yes, Haley brought me some beautiful Pokemon cards to give me at GDC, and I wanted to show them off. She got me 2 Spheal cards and an Esper card. And Haley, were you saying this is the only full art card of Spheal.
That's the only Spheal illustration rare. It's from the Surging Sparks new set that came out last year. That says one thing.
That's beautiful.
And she put them in like really solid like sleeves, like the professional sleeves.
Yeah.
Top loaders. I was at a card show when I bought the Spheal on the right, Sarah. I was looking through the folders and I said to the guy, I was like, I'm really looking for the illustration rare Spheal. And he goes, oh, I just sold it. And I was like, damn it. And then I flipped and there's another one. I was like, oh, and he's like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, we got to up our game if we're around Haley again, Sarah, when we're around Haley again, for the amount of like gifts and kind things that she does for us.
That's my love language,
oh my
little
God.
prezzies.
Unbelievable. Hey, get a load of this from the community. Mr. Buttons in the Discord channel. They shared this story from Eurogamer about the people who beat the secret, really difficult platforming level in Split Fiction. The first people to beat it. Hazelight invited them to the studio and let them check out the next game that they're making. Isn't that a cool idea? And I'm curious.
I saw the way that they got to that was so convoluted. It was like buttons they press and they had to press them at the same time together. It's like, how did they know to do that? Did they look at the code or something?
Yeah, and it's not like a studio, as far as I know, that's known for its kind of like deep Easter eggs and stuff like that. So it's wild to think that this was hidden in there, but that's cool. It's a lot of trust from Hazelight to be, yeah, come on by. We'll show it to you. But he said in the rapid fire interview that Neil Druckmann got to see the next game already too. So I guess Neil Druckmann was ultimately the real winner here. As per usual.
True.
But that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, listening, sharing, all that fun stuff. Apologize again for the late upload, but hopefully you understand because of that whole GDC trip. But let's see, MinnMax this week. We have new episode of Pew Pew Bang. That is up right now in the standalone podcast feed if you want to check out that show with Haley and Sarah and Janet and Kelsey. What's the theme for this week's episode?
Girl games.
Girl games.
Every game's a girl game if you really think about it.
That's
funny. Kind of the theme of the episode.
It's funny. Just like as it continues, you just keep trying to spread out like, the feminine urge to kill gargoyles. You just keep rolling like everything's a feminine urge. It's perfect. Pew Pew Bang, check it out. That show rules. Leave a review if you like. Also, new episode of Max Settings, Leo. Max Settings is back. Our show sponsored by NVIDIA, eh?
Yes, we wanted to do that show because the community always wants more gameplay content from us, and that's a great reason to do it, is for them to pay us. And I think it's very successful in that way this episode. Kyle and I playing Half-Life 2 for 2 hours, and it's just a really fun Let's Play with a brief dive into the settings to show off how good the graphics are, because it's really pretty. It's Half-Life 2 RTX, so it is them pushing RTX Remix, NVIDIA's suite of community-friendly modding tools for upscaling, up-resing games on your own. So it's like a community studio that's working on this, and the demo was not the first 2 levels, but a couple levels.
Right on. Check it out on our YouTube channel. Help support that show so we can do more like it. Because, like we talked about, it's a nice, sustainable way to do Let's Plays at MinnMax instead of it kind of eating into everything and draining everybody's schedule in a big way. But bonus pod, more GDC talk with Janet, unpack even more behind-the-scenes stories, all that fun stuff. That'll be up on Monday for everybody. We have the MinnMax travelogue for GDC that hopefully I can edit this weekend and then get up. It should be a fun time. If you're at the $10 tier, you'll get the 6-hour version so you can really soak in the full experience because you all paid for
6 hours?
Yeah.
I still have to send you my clips too, Ben.
I know. I'm trying to factor that in, but yeah, if you want to, you all supporting us on Patreon is the reason, that Sarah and I were able to afford traveling out there. So we want to share as much of that experience as possible with the community here. So that's the goal of that extended version, but we'll have the highlight cut obviously for the public as well. Also, the 3 of us, not Leo, he wasn't invited. But the rest of us were on the Kit and Krista podcast. So you can check that out in your favorite podcast app or on their YouTube channel. It is all of us drafting our ideal Switch 2 launch lineup. Kit and Krista, they're so good. They're professionals. They're
so nice.
Former Nintendo pros, marketing pros. They know how to package a podcast. And so it's fun to record a podcast in studio with them. And technically the first time the 3 of us have recorded a podcast in person together, which is weird, right? So you can check that out on Kit and Chris's YouTube channel. But anybody else got anything they want to plug? No? Perfect.
Well, thanks to everybody who came to the meetup and was super nice. I do want to say that. Everyone was super cute and nice.
Yeah, everyone was definitely cute and nice. Yeah, it was unbelievably sweet. And it's very nice to see in the Discord channel afterwards, people be like, oh, that was so great. I was worried about it, but it turns out everyone just wants to politely talk about games and have some jokes. Yeah. And it is so fun to do those meetups. And Hopefully I got to talk to everybody. If I didn't get to talk to you, I apologize. I was trying to dance around as much as possible. It's just a series of like, I got to go over here, but I'll come back and talk to you later. And you just don't quite get back to everybody. So hopefully we spread around enough. But shout out to everybody for sure that came out for that. We greatly appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon for making the whole thing possible to begin with. But that is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. We'll be back next week with a whole brand new one that should be fun. Until then, be good, have fun, let's go.